Are we live?
Next up, thyroparathyroidectomy.
Okay, we are.
Please spell acetylglucocoroglycogenin.
Let me load up my stream on my other thing. Hello.
All right, can you spell anti-xerophthalmic? Your next word is
Go
autothaumaturgist.
to my account. Put this in here. Edit
Spell
video.
chargogagogman chagagogchaubunagungamag.
Oh, I meant the other one.
All right, spell canaliculodacryocystohynostomy.
Analytics. Okay, there we go.
All right, try spelling
My
psychoneuroendocrinological.
encoder, I think, is working. Okay, there.
Please spell nona nona contanonactanonaliaga. All right, can you spell sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia?
Nah.
All right, spell dichlorodiphanyl trichloroethane.
Just in case someone gives me 251.
All right, try spelling periprotoporphyrin.
These glitch colors are so easy.
All right, can you spell laparohysterosal
Not when I'm aggressive, though. When it comes to Tetris, I am the most aggressive.
Next up, stereoelectroencephalography. Can you spell counterimmunoelectrophoresis? Your word is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Can you spell
Oh. I think I should just use DAS because
All right, spell otorhinolaryngological.
I'm kind of using rolling.
Can
Let's
you
try
spell
237.
prolificabilitidinity? Next up, dehydrothiouronium. Please spell corticopontocerebellar.
2DO.
Dextrodiorsubversion. Can you spell anthropomorphization?
No, I need
Your
another
next
YouTube.
word is sphygmomanometer. Please spell anti-disestablishmentarianism.
So load that in. Load this in.
The
Load
next word
this
is
in.
Gegenstand's theory.
And move that. And done.
All right, spell psychophysicotherapeutics.
It works.
Can you spell pseudo-hypoparathyroidism? All right, try spelling stereoelectroencephalography. Spell floxinosinyhilipilification. Next up, dextrodiorsubversion. Next up, psychoneuroendocrinological. All right, spell hippopotamonstrosusquipedaliophobia. All right, try spelling polyphyloprogenitive. Next up, canaliculodacryocystohynostomy.
Practicing. Reload. When did I get views?
The next word is Nona nona conta nonacta nonaliagon.
Oh my goodness. I forgot to load my score. There we go.
Your word is sclerectoirodectomy.
Oh my goodness. What's happening? Ignore the piece changing. That's just my tool. Jeez, that's only 3?
The next word is pneumoencephalography.
Nah. I need to dig out of this. Nah, I put a hole. Okay, that should give me a Tetris. Yes. And time to burn a bomb.
I did unmute like 2 minutes ago. I'm still listening.
Can you
in
spell
silence.
ventriculocysternostomy?
How does that happen? Dude, how? Literally, how? Lord, can I look at... Gosh. And I went into that. I was like, oh yeah, this word is hard, whatever. Bacteriocystor-hynostomy. I'm not the best at that word, but where does that typo come from? I've never made that typo in my life. What?
Next up,
Corticopontocerebellar. That's how it should have gone. The only type I'll ever make on this word is like kinoliculodactyliocys. Oh no, I messed up at cystor. Where it goes to cystor. What do? Hypostomy? Hympostomy? What is that? How does that happen?
All right, spell loncastuximab-tocirene.
For the love of my life, can I find the song I want to play?
Next up,
Got.
Know where to put that piece. Right there. Get a Tetris. Put that piece right there. Get a vertical Tetris.
please spell cholangiopancreatography.
Cat.
All right, can you spell autothaumaturgist?
What is Storm even saying?
Try spelling sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia.
Why am I so back?
The next word is
Cat.
photoplethysmography.
Yo.
Next up,
Cat.
laryngotracheobronchitis. Your next next word is honorific abilitudinity.
Chat.
Your next word is
No. Tetris? Okay, 496 transition, I think. What is it, 496? I don't know. Let's review it. I'm going to review the footage.
Chat.
I'm seeing what the footage is. Because I want to know. I got a 491 transition.
Lepero hystero salpingu forecta.
491 transition. $491.
All right, spell dextrodiorconversion.
Yo, this is a good run. This is not a good run.
Spelling polyphyloprogenitor.
If this was a good run, I'll be. Nah, 600k transition. But I didn't even get a 600k transition.
All right, spell elogopushu hippopoconurius.
The good news is,
Can you spell nona contanonactanonaliada?
I get to eat chicken and dumplings.
Next up, canaliculodacryocystohynostomia.
Oh, here it is, dude. Cystohynostomia. This should have happened.
All right, can you spell psychoneuroendocrinological? Can you spell
No.
nucleotide alexotransferase?
I'm cooked. I'm cooked.
Tidalexo.
Never mind.
Dude.
The
I'm
next
so
word is
back.
hematospectrophotometrically.
We are so back.
All right, try spelling pseudorhombic
What popped up?
We're so back.
Pseudo
No.
hypoparathyroidism.
Are you kidding me?
Chat,
So-
don't unsubscribe,
Your next
please,
word
okay?
is Floccinausimia
Nah.
identification.
Only 800k.
Don't unsubscribe. I promise I'm good at typing.
Spell inositylphosphoryl
I promise.
$500 per minute.
Can you spell
I don't need any more burns. No more burns.
That's so annoying.
If
Try
I
spelling
get a burn, I cannot get Wait, I'm one Tetris off.
Can you spell thyroparathyroidectomy?
I'm one Tetris off. I'm one Tetris off.
Spell bourgeoisification.
I'm one Tetris off. Bro.
How? I typed the word already and I fat fingered 2 letters at the end?
I need a long bar. There we go. I need another one. Give me your long bars, bro. Give me your long bar. Where's the long bar? There we go.
Hypothalamic pituitary
Chat, what's going on? 1.1.
spell
1.1.
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Hold on. A bit slowly.
I'm having an existential
All right, can you spell
When did I get the max out?
I'm having a...
Let me review when I get a max out. When I got it.
adrenocorticotrophin?
I'm having a
Okay, so it was at 249 that I got it. The max out. And then I was just doing. When did I get 1.1? Oh, when I got the Tetris, then I got 1.1. Oh, that's when I got 1.1. I'm thinking 1.2.
Can you spell ventriculocystostomy?
Sorry for the pause.
Spell
I need to
acetylglucocoroglossagenin.
go back. Sorry for the pause. I was just reviewing footages. There we go. 290, 1.2. Double 30, 1.2.
The next word is
Let's go.
Chat, is there... Oh my god.
No way.
I don't know what else to put
I-
on. Okay, is there a loser's bracket? Can I make a comeback? Wait, guys. Hold on. Millionaire intense question theme? Chat. Big
All right,
discovery.
spell Numino-ultra microscopic silico-volcanoconiosis.
Loser of bracket 3. Loser of bracket 23, 33. Which bracket was I? Chat.
1 by 4. 1 by 4. 1 by 4.
Hold on.
1 by 4.
21. It was bracket 21. Loser of bracket 23? Hold on, I'm looking at something.
1.5. Can we get a 1.6? Can we get a 1.6?
Any sense?
Craniocutaneous leukomatosis.
There's a loser's bracket for select people? Am I reading this right?
73. F73. F73. That just roll over. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Way too close. That's way too close. Way too close to the end. I mean the top. I just feel like I go 1.7. I'm reviewing when did I get 1.7.
Astrosesquipedaliophobia.
Tetris, 1.5. Miss Drop. Boom. Burn. Clicks. Then Tetris, F67. I go to level 41. Misdrop the long bar. Burned again. Misdrop the square. Got a Tetris. Misdrop the long bar and then got a talk setup for it and then Tetris. And then I go 1.678. And then I burned a couple times. Then I got a Tetris for 1.7 and then burned. Okay. That was the footage. Can we skip the footage? Whoa.
Dormy? He said something.
Your next word is Loncostuximabtocide.
Tetris 1.8. 1.8.
All right, can you spell erythrocytopheresis?
I think I got everybody.
Hold on.
If I see it and it's bad, you're getting
Oh,
I don't have it live. Stop.
hold on. This is my.
One of the hosts of
Let me go to YouTube Studio.
The next word is
Someone answer me.
cholangiocolocystic.
Someone
I
answer me.
think I have everybody. If I didn't get
I
you,
have-
speak now or forever hold your peace. If I didn't get you and you get mad at me, I don't care.
Okay, so these are the round one loser brackets, yes?
Yes.
Got
Did
it.
I forget anybody? Wait, you know what? I will just pull up the bracket. I'll just pull up the wheel. You don't see me on the side and you
Is
lost.
there a loser's bracket for me
Speak
to
up.
check?
You tell me. Wait, I'm
Chat.
about to dox my entire university. Oops, hold on.
You go to tab.
I almost
Answer the
doxed
question.
where I went to
Go.
school.
Can't dox that.
I
They
played.
can't know.
Next up,
No, this guy doesn't know. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
lymphangioliomatosis.
I know you can't see what he said, but this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Okay, there we go. I changed it.
The winners
Oh,
of this
shoot.
loser's bracket.
We'll-
Guys, we have a chance. We have a chance. I'm serious.
This
I still have a footage. I still have the footage. I still have the footage.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
This
It's the
song
way all my
has been going on for so long. I want to know. I need the answer. I
Execute.
need the answer.
If I didn't
I
get your
end
name,
stream right now. I eat my chicken and dumplings and I apply to college because I have to apply to
Yes,
college.
if you lost in the first round and you didn't see your name on this video, tell us.
If you lost in the first round.
Next up, convolvulaceous.
No, I lost in the second round.
okay. Am I missing anybody? Okay. Am I missing anybody? When I get to 10, if you don't tell me that you're not on there.
Chat, is there a loser's bracket for round 2? Please,
You are
I
not
need to
on.
apply to college.
Adding up. Okay.
3, 4, 5.
You're not looking,
Your next word is dehydrotheodolute.
you're not looking at the chat.
You lost on round 1?
Oh.
Oh, the music.
Guys,
Okay.
I need
Okay.
official confirmation.
5.
Someone said I play the winners of the.
Starting from where you left off.
Someone said I play the winners of the first round of the losers bracket for the first round. I might be in it, chat. I might be in it. Wait.
I guess.
I need confirmation.
Alright.
Answer my question. I'm speaking. Answer my question.
Gegenstand's theory.
You didn't answer my question. I don't know how a tournament works. Please reach out to that. I don't
No.
understand.
Okay, so they are going against.
Cosmos ablaze.
Yes.
Chill, bro. Let's see the.
I don't want to be annoying.
Your next word is
I don't know what I'm gonna do for my inner.
Situation. I'm not trying to be annoying by asking 4 times.
Alright.
I hate
So
that.
Zenny and
But I need to
Cosmos,
know.
you guys are up for
It
the
could
first
save
round on
me
losers
an
bracket.
entire hour. I could eat my chicken and dumplings and I can apply to college. I'm not gonna make it to college if I have to sit here
I will get the names.
and I
of the
just don't get to
winners
play a
and
spelling bee tournament.
Right, flippin' now.
Right flipping now? You should answer my question right flipping now. I've been waiting for like 5 minutes. Answer my question.
all right. Spell anthropomorphization.
Answer my question.
And gold. Tier track.
Because they have to do the matches for the losers of the first round, and I lost the second round.
Okay, everybody.
So I'm trying to redraw
Whoever said 6, 7, I'm banning you.
the
Ay, ay,
bracket.
ay.
2, 4, 6, 7. Yes,
Redraw
there
the
are 7
bracket.
winners right now. There will be 8
8 winners.
very soon.
All right. Spell psychoneuroimmunology.
I don't understand.
6, 9's even worse. Shut up, bro. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to say that out loud.
Guys,
Who said that?
What?
Who
Did
the
someone say
frick
something? I
said
heard
that, bro?
something.
That's so rude. Who the
I need to do
flip
Yeah, he-
said
Who
that?
would say that? Who could possibly say that?
Tell somebody
No
to
one
shut
said
up.
Andy Hay. They need to get out of here.
pause the music. Pause the music. I need to show y'all something.
Is
I have
Cosmos
one-
here?
I need to show you.
Wait, did I not get it?
I'm talking
Tetris.
to my chat, but
Max out. Second.
guys,
The next word is
For some
pneumoencephalitis.
reason, I feel like I'm missing some people, but for some
It's me.
reason, I don't know who.
it's me. Oh my god, it's not me. I'm joking. Just answer my question.
People who lost the first round. Okay.
Guys,
So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Do we-
7, 8,
this
9,
guy-
10, 11,
I don't know
12,
who this
13,
guy
14.
is.
You should have 4. You should
They
have
are
14
not-
winners.
they are not the host of the
Because we had
tournament.
14
Sorry,
winners from the first round.
Do we
I already
take their
cleared
word
the-
for it?
I already
Oh,
cleared
okay.
that.
Do we take their word for it?
You already checked. You already cleared the list.
I already cleared
Just one if we take their word for it.
that. And they didn't speak of now.
Your
They
word
broke
is
it.
We did say
psychophysical
that.
therapeutics.
Tetris. Oh, no. I'm just randomly jolting pieces around. Joltsy.
happened while I was gone? I lost round 2 to a typo.
Oh.
So I'm trying to figure out if I
Boom.
bracket.
Please. Please.
'Cause like I said,
No. No, I missed.
Tonsilopharyngitis.
No, I'm getting dangerously high. I
Doesn't
think I
answer.
can take it down.
guys, you know what? You know what? We're gonna take their word for it. We're gonna take their word for it. Let's go! I'm back in the tournament! GG's!
Surely a second ping will do the trick. 2 pings in a DM.
Yes.
Chat, I'm alive. Chat, I'm alive.
Third ping session.
Waiting for...
Fourth ping's a charm, actually.
I think.
Can you spell pyrrolizidinial alkaloidosis?
There. I just DM'd him. Were we not, everybody?
We're taking the word for it.
Calling out to Cosmos.
There is a dickhead.
I'm still in it.
Next up, gastroenterologist.
Yo, I need 3 point. I need 50 million, as it says in the.
You're gonna replace him.
You know what,
Please
guys? It's okay.
spell
I will step up.
otorhinolaryngological.
You're
Watch
gonna
me cook.
go against Zenny.
I have not actively played this game.
Your word
You
is
haven't learned. Have you ever looked at the new words?
anti-disestablishmentarianism.
Maybe I'll DM Jeffy.
Said
Should
the
I?
new words,
Maybe
bro.
I'll be.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
We would have to be playing on beginner mode.
I might DM Jeffy.
Your next
I
word
will-
is
I'll shadow you. I'll shadow you.
Cosmo's back. Cosmo's back.
Am I in?
Oh,
a
is it? Okay.
loser's bracket?
You are going up against
Zenny.
yes. You.
Cosmos, you were in the stage. I will DM you the server link.
Guys, isn't this so fun?
This is very fun.
I DM'd him, chat.
Isn't it
I
so
asked him if
fun?
I'm in a loser's bracket.
Everybody please say yes.
Wait.
Everybody better
Millionaire.
say yes.
Yes, this is very fun.
All right, can you spell dichlorodyphenyl
Millionaire
trichloroethane?
and
And I revel in it.
Chat.
He revels in it. He revels in it.
I think I'll miss drop at this height. I think I'll miss drop at this height.
For a response
I-
from Jeffy.
Yes, and
Serp Sam.
What? 11 high left got cleared easily.
Let's go!
I-
Let's go! I'm in! Chat!
Is
Chat!
that how it works?
How can I do 11 high?
Hold on. We
Oh,
still
are
have to
you
find
looking
out.
at my drawn bracket? That was kind of just a precaution.
He just said I go against the winners.
No, I just said that's how it was gonna work. Like the people who lost in the second round, they're gonna go against the people who won in
Can you
the round
spell
1 loser bracket.
Okay, that was supposed to be how it was gonna work. But then it was kind of
Tetris, burn, burn.
precaution because I didn't know how many people would drop the day of.
You have to think about it. You just gotta think about it.
Alright, I got Cosmos in my server.
Okay.
Getting-
I can stream this.
Okay, let's just do it.
Oh,
Yes.
awesome.
Guys. Chat, I think we're in. We're
Execute.
in. New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Final. No, boss clear theme.
Let's
Chat,
go. Zenny versus Cosmos.
we're back in it. We're back in the tournament. Load the song.
All right, can you spell inositylphosphoryl ceramide?
W, we're still in it, chat. We're still in it. We're still in
Mario, Mario, body.
Inositylphosphoryl ceramide.
Consistency over speed.
Anyways.
No, 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 no.
I gotta wait till it beats
That was 69.
I'm gonna be so slow.
69. Hey now.
It's probably gonna be like
Hey now. Hey now.
Did the tournament start yet? Okay.
Yo!
Come on.
No.
Spell
Summary. I lost round 2.
The tortoise.
Waiting for. I
Why
lost
is it
round.
silent?
I lost round 2. Waiting for
No. You can use that silencer.
losers
I
bracket
started the joke anyway.
round.
Do you guys want to hear my joke while we watch this amazing match?
Sure. What's the
No,
joke mean?
wait, S is saying no,
Why
but
are you hating against the joke?
I need to add
I hope we're
the
No, no, like, no. There we go.
Spell Pyrrolizidinial.
That's much better lines. 660. No. Okay, that's much worse lines. 672. Tetris for you.
There is no line. Okay, we're gonna add an outline to the text. It's gonna be the
Nope.
This is gonna be the second longest string
Let's go with Tetris.
outline of this.
They already went. We're doing
Wait, actually, what?
Don't understand. It's not working.
Is this the loser bracket?
This is the first round on this bracket.
Okay, it's what he says that he doesn't have a lot of fun, so what are we gonna do?
Oh,
Oh my goodness, I keep that.
bracket.
Bang,
Okay,
boom, bingo, bongo, bango, bingo, bongo. Tetris.
Guys,
Wait,
oh
are
my
you
God.
kidding me? 4.797780.
Absolutely
Loser
W
bracket.
content.
I need one more Tetris.
Winners.
Based on how I do, I can make a long form out of it.
It's been 31.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I have 2 point. Wait, that's 2.8.
Stop flipping
Hold on.
screens,
What
Jeffrey.
word
I was,
screwed me up?
I was gonna put it in the first.
And there we go. One rollover. Man, I can't get this T-spin. Time to get my already earned Tetris. Where is it? Man, the long bar sucks. For me. Because, you know.
Bro, I started.
No, I got another long bar.
Next up,
How did I do that?
please spell
And how did I do that but I missed the other one?
spell convolvulation.
So this is the these are the
What the
people.
heck?
Let's just burn a couple more lines. You know, a couple more. And boom, bang, boom.
Let me do
Alright.
this.
Manometer.
This is gonna be.
Okay, while we wait, do you guys want to hear my joke now?
Please spell
Okay, so this is gonna
spectrophotophluorometry.
be. Okay, so this.
Oh,
How
yeah,
should I
let
title
me
this? Like,
fix
should I title? Is this what is this round 2 loser bracket?
Please spell
No, this is just round
polyphyloprogenitive.
3 for a top
Okay, so round 3. All right, brackets.
Your
I'm
word
gonna make
is
the
very
brackets. So we
protoporphyrin.
have Cosmos versus Gold.
It's gonna take forever, guys.
Yes.
Proof, this one was the best of all. Except, it's never quite that easy with NES Tetris. There are reports that around the time of Harry's
Tetris
1.2,
5.1.
named Bo Steele achieved a
I am
2 million game of his own.
level 82.
Nobody remembers what his exact score was, or what the level of proof was. But Bo is a verified max-out player, so his score claim isn't unreasonable. Still, Harry Hong gets the most credit for being the first to achieve 1.2 million, and he was one of the best players in the world. One of the few who was capable of a score this high. However, as good as Harry was, there was still another player who had potential to go even higher. See, every year since 2010, the biggest Tetris tournament was the Classic Tetris World Championship, where the best NES Tetris players in the world competed. Of the 7 annual tournaments by this point, 1 had been won by Harry Hong. As for the rest, all 6 were won by the same player, Jonas Neubauer.
And your winner of the 2016 Classic Tetris World Championships, 6-time world champion, Jonas Neubauer!
In the 12 years since his first recorded max out, Jonas had turned into a monster. Every year, he went head-to-head against Tetris's best players. And time again, Jonas proved better than the rest. His stacking was brilliant. He was able to
Tetris?
when others couldn't. Jonas Neubauer was simply considered the best NES Tetris player on
Tetris!
Earth.
Are you?
Yet through all this, he'd never really cared about the score world record. He was more focused on tournaments. But in 2017, he started streaming on Twitch. And on July 24th, he booted up a casual game of Tetris. That was 17 straight Tetrises to open the game. Unbelievable. He slowed down a bit after that, but still managed to max out in mid-level 26. And then, he landed 6 more Tetrises before the kill screen. So to counter that, Alex distracted himself. He hyped Andy and a few others all played to break the score record. On top of that, there was a community-funded bounty of $2,600 for the first 10 million point game. There was a lot of anticipation, and with so many top players trying, expectations were just as high. However, weeks passed, and not only was there no 10 million point game, but nobody even improved their high score. Playing long enough to score 10 million points required immense concentration, and when factoring in the pressure to be the first to cross a barrier, and the cash bounty at stake, each good game was like a mental battle. Fractal, Blue Scooty, Pixel Andy, Dog, Gerald Freeman, these guys were all good enough to reach 10 million, yet week after week they came up empty. But then, on the night of March 11th, 2024, someone started messaging players in the Classic Tetris Monthly Discord server. These were from another top player, Alex Thatch, and this is what he sent. This was a new world record and just short of the 10 million point barrier, but it was also unrecorded. Now, Alex was definitely a good player, holding a few various records over the years. He used to be one of the fastest hyper tappers, and was good at rolling too, but had never officially held the score record before. He was claiming to have crushed his recorded PB, offline and without video proof. Alex said he was practicing late at night while listening to Moist Critical, and out of nowhere, he got this crazy game. The general consensus was that the score was likely legit, but without a video, it couldn't be considered official. So, the very next day, Alex Thatch began streaming attempts to prove himself. Now, expecting to match or beat yesterday's score was unreasonable, but if he could put up some decent scores on command, that would help substantiate his 9.9 million claim. Alex sat down and started playing some Tetris, but little did he or anybody watching know that this was going to be the greatest game of Tetris ever performed. It started off like any other. He reached level 29 and decided to play conservatively in hopes of getting a deep game.
Slow and steady, like, wins the race, you know?
He kept climbing through levels, and for the most part, his stack stayed very low. And eventually, he passed level 100.
Yes! Level 100! Sheesh, 3 digits!
The game was starting to get serious, but Alex stayed very calm. On level 138, he entered the glitchy items, and he was cruising. As he reached the Dark Palettes, he echoed the words Fractal used to lock himself in.
Eyes wide open. Eyes wide open.
Yes, double 100.
Wide open!
It worked. Alex played through the 150s, and at this moment, if he was playing on an original cartridge, the game would have likely crashed. But since he was on Tetris Gym, he was able to keep going. And all the while, Alex just kept talking.
Yes! Redemption! This is redemption! Oh my god! And we're gonna keep fighting for this 10 mil. We need to win that bounty. You got nothing on me. I'm gonna keep going. I'm going for the 10 million. And I'm gonna get it.
This was actually a brilliant strategy. The main thing stopping players on these games was themselves. Nerves caught up to them, and they just couldn't hold it together. So to counter that, Alex distracted himself. He hyped himself up, and as a result, his nerves melted away.
Bring it on! Come on!
On level 185, Alex crossed 10 million points. This was now the official world record, and he'd earned the $2,600 bounty. And then he crossed level 190, and then level 200. All the while, he wouldn't be quiet.
Bro, these colors got nothing on me. I like literally.
On level 216, Alex landed a Tetris. It was worth over 260,000 points. How is this game happening? Could it go on forever? Does Tetris have an end? Well, it sort of does. You can play all the way to level 255, and then the level counter rolls over to 0, and the game essentially restarts. This is known as the Rebirth.
999 lines.
Known to exist, but wasn't
Tetris
considered
for
all viable.
1009.
But Alex might have a shot at it right now. However, there was still one thing standing between Alex and the Rebirth. Level 235. In NES Tetris, levels last 10 lines. However, due to a bug, level 235 is a bit different. It lasts for 810 lines. It's an absolute marathon to make it through, especially with the dark green color palette it has on Tetris Gym. So when Alex entered level 235 moments later, he knew he had a tough task ahead of him.
Oh, wait, what? Wait, this is the 800 lines level. Oh my god.
He'd cleared 10 lines so far, only 800 more to go. For the first time all game, Alex stopped talking. He struggled to see the pieces and needed to use all his focus. For 70 more lines, all went well. But eventually, he began to misdrop.
Oh, that might be it. Oh my god! What has... Oh, oh my god! This is redemption! Day 1 of 10 million? Look what we got.
This just completely blew every other game ever played out of the water. To put it in perspective, prior to this game, few people had ever cleared more than 1,400 lines in a game. Alex had just cleared 2,374 lines, and his game lasted a full hour. He had figured out the secret formula to survive in
21.
Tetris. Just distract yourself and don't care. A few weeks later, Alex raised the score slightly to 16.7 million, and to this day, nobody else has beaten his score. But there's no doubt that the Rebirth is coming. Alex...
This is Willis, aka Blue Scooty, setting a new world record for the longest game of NES Tetris by getting the first ever level 157. But something unexpected is about to happen. He just became the first person ever to trigger a game crash, reaching the true kill screen, which is by far the biggest achievement in the 34-year-old history of the Pro Classic Tetris scene.
Okay, we're at level
So why is this such a
111.
big deal? And can a record like this ever
Tetris?
be broken?
Tetris?
To answer both those questions, we need to go back and start with the first
Getting a
unbeatable
bunch of
barrier in the
combos.
game. In NES Tetris, released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1989, the goal is to assemble falling blocks to clear complete lines. For every 10 lines cleared, you move up a level and the speed gets a little bit faster. The fastest speed is reached at level 29, and at this point the pieces can no longer reliably get to the sides by holding down the side-to-side buttons. For decades, this was considered the end of the game, and level 29 got dubbed the kill screen because it always killed your run. Except it wasn't a kill screen in the traditional sense. In retro games, a kill screen normally
Tetris?
refers to when
Nice,
it's impossible to get any further due to a glitch in the game's code. For example, in Pac-Man, the kill screen is reached at level 256, where a glitch garbles the entire right side of the screen and you aren't able to eat enough white dots to clear the level. NES Tetris doesn't actually have a glitch at level 29. The level is clearable if you can somehow figure out a way to move the pieces faster. And in 2011, Thor Ackerlund became the first person to reach level 30 on video by vibrating his fingers to mash the controller faster than the game's built-in speed. A technique
Okay, I'm trying
technique
to
known as hyper-tapping.
burn,
And because level
burn,
29 is the
burn.
maximum speed
No.
of the game, all the levels afterwards don't get any faster. So it was theoretically possible to go even
My
higher.
levels match
Thor's level
that.
world record would stand for 7 years until a teenage hyper-tapping prodigy, Joseph Saley, broke it in 2018 by becoming the first player to reach level 31. Joseph's skill would allow him to win 2 Tetris World Championship titles in 2018 and 2019, and he slowly
Oh,
kept
shoot.
pushing the level world record upwards all the way to level 35. Until
I'm
an
trying.
even faster hyper-tapper, Eric ICX, came along and became the first to reach levels 37 and 38. Now this was light years ahead of what anyone would have expected when the game first came out, but overall progress on the record was still slow because
And
it
we
only
reached
barely
12
made level
million.
29 speed possible. Deep runs into the 30s still required getting good luck with the pieces and near perfect placements with almost zero margin for error. In order to truly push things a lot further, some kind of breakthrough was needed. But then a new technique came along that would change
Tetris?
everything.
I load up chat.
In 2020, a Tetris player named Cheese watched a video on various button mashing strategies and had the epiphany to combine a multi-finger technique by Hector Fly done on arcade cabinets and another technique that used a finger on the bottom of the controller to push it into another finger on the top. He called this new technique rolling, and it allowed him to easily reach button mashing speeds over twice as fast as the quickest hyper-tappers. He became the first player to ever reach level 40, and although a hyper-tapper named Alex Thatch would end up taking the record back, he would be the last tapper ever to do so. Over the next few months, there was a flurry of new records as most of the top players in the scene switched over to the new rolling technique, culminating in Eric ICX, now a roller, shattering the record in 2021 by making it all the way to level 95. With the fastest speed in the game now fully mastered, it seemed like the sky was the limit for how far players could go, but an even bigger challenge than speed was looming on the horizon. NES Tetris was originally designed with 10 normal-looking color palettes for levels 0 to 9 that were bright, colorful, and easily visible. Every time you go up 10 levels, the
I'm
game
trying to
then
do a
loops back
Rebirth.
around to the first color scheme. But because this game was coded in the 1980s, everything is written to try and be extremely memory efficient. So the line of code that's supposed to determine the level color glitches out starting at level 138 and starts pulling
Tetris?
data from outside the color table.
When did I
resulting
get
in a
10
bunch of
mil?
random,
Let me see.
bizarre color palettes that can be difficult to see. If
Okay,
you're
so
in
I
the code and
think I
wondering
got it on
exactly
level
how and why this
109.
happens, Hydrant Dude has a great 2-minute explainer video on the subject.
Yep, I
that I'll
did
link in the
get it on
description.
109.
Obviously,
10
the
mil.
colors glitch wasn't a problem when the game first came out because making it to level 138 would have been a
13
pipe
million
dream.
and
But now,
3,
players were actually
2,
on the verge of getting there.
1.
Technically, the first
Bang.
player to reach the glitch colors was
Oh, wait,
Fractal
no.
161,
Oh,
but
there
he
you go,
opted to go
13.
for it on the much lesser played PAL version of the game, which runs 20% slower than the much more common NTSC version that is used in the World Championships and most of the main leaderboards, including this one. Eric ICX became the first person to achieve glitched colors on the NTSC version, impressively managing to get it in an actual tournament match and making it all the way to level 146 before a particularly dim level cost him to top out. He ended up winning the 2022 World Championships a few months later. But now
And
the
level
combination
110, I
of challenges,
almost
visibility,
died.
and sheer endurance were starting to seriously slow down progress again, as Eric's world record game had lasted nearly 40 minutes. It took over a year before anyone was able to get past the dim level that had taken out Eric, and when a player named Pixel Andy finally managed to beat it, he got taken out by an even more difficult level featuring pieces that were nearly pitch black.
Hey, the color. I can't see it. No, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it on my screen. It just went dark.
So what was the future of the record? Slow incremental
Boom.
progress at increasingly difficult to see levels? Well, it turns out the
Tetris.
most significant achievement yet was closer than anyone thought. Back in 2021, a programmer, Greg Cannon, made a Tetris-playing AI called Stack Rabbit in order to push the game
Come on.
far beyond what was possible for a
Give me
human.
what I
Not
like.
limited by stamina or eyesight, Stack Rabbit was able to fly past the most difficult glitched color levels with ease. And Greg ended up coining names for each of the color schemes.
When
as
did I
they
get a
passed,
million?
Such as calling the dim level that took out Eric Dusk, and the black level that took out Andy
Hold on,
Charcoal.
I'm looking at the
Stack Rabbit would
footage.
continue to play through even more bizarre glitches that happened later on, such is level 235, which
Oh,
lasts for
oh,
800
I
lines
remember
instead
that.
of the typical 10.
I-
But eventually, the game just
I
can't
got-
function anymore.
I
And
got
there's
to,
the long
I
bar,
got
and it's
1
gonna
million at
crash
level
the game
30.
with that Tetris into level 237.
I'm
Its
just
final
a bit-
score is 102 million.
So what's going on here? In the simplest possible terms, the game is running on code, which is instructions
10
on what to do
million.
next, and RAM, which is its workspace where it calculates things and keeps track of what it's doing. The game's code starts to become really inefficient on very high levels, because no one was expected to get this far, and eventually a glitch happens where the game switches from reading instructions from the code to reading the RAM as if it were code. If the resulting garble generates a stop command, it completely breaks the game, leading to it being called the true kill screen. If you want the full technical breakdown, again, Hydra Dude has a great video on the topic that I'll link in the description. But here's the thing, the game crash doesn't always happen in the same spot, because the glitch can get triggered by very specific things depending on the level, such as what piece you have or how many lines you clear at once. And Stack Rabbit was actually playing
1
a
million
modified version
on
of the game that has
level
7 digits
81.
in the score counter
And
instead
at
of
level
6, so it didn't have the
136,
same crash
I
spots
already
as the
have.
unmodified
I just
version.
got
In
10 million in
2022,
a couple
there was
levels.
massive effort put into researching the mechanics of the crash.
I got
and
nothing.
Hydra Dude
Good
made a
colors.
spreadsheet tallying up every possible
Let's go.
situation that could cause the crash to be triggered. Yeah, I know, the same guy again. This guy's the MVP of documenting all this stuff. And it turns out that the earliest possible trigger for the crash on the unmodified original version of the game was a single at the transition into level 155. That actually wasn't too far off from the world record. A human might actually be able to do that, provided they could get through Dusk and Charcoal. In 2023, after Fractal won the World Championships and firmly established himself as the best current player in the scene, he decided to start live streaming daily attempts to get the crash. But on the very first night of his grind, a player named Blue Scooty shocked the scene by being the first player to ever beat Charcoal and make it all the way to level 153. Not only did this set a new level world record and score world record to boot, it was only 18 lines away from the first crash. Scooty was a newer player in the scene who'd recently been on a meteoric rise, achieving a surprise semifinals finish in the 2023 World Championships. And after getting the record, he decided to challenge Fractal and start grinding for the game crash himself, and later said in an interview,
You know, I just thought I was so close, I might as well race him for
Yo.
it and try and beat him to the crash.
but Fractal looks like he could be getting it at any moment. Less than 24 hours later, on day 2 of the grind, he had a game early on that went all the way to the level right before the glitched colors.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Nah.
Later on in the night, he succeeded in getting to the glitched colors, but then disaster struck when he hit Dusk.
Oh my god. No, I got completely blindsided.
Despite not getting the game crash, this game would actually end up taking back the score world record from Blue Scooty. On day 3, Fractal started up again, ready for
Lychee? Is
another
that
evening of
lychee?
attempts. But just 20 minutes into the stream, the chat alerted him that Blue Scooty was currently on a big run.
Wait, what is Scooty at right now? Oh my god.
Blue Scooty was on a roll, having reached the glitch colors and easily coasted through Dusk with a low board. Next up was Charcoal. He had a little bit of trouble at the beginning, but managed to clutch a line piece to the left to get the stack down to complete the level. Now it was
I'm
just
gonna do
a matter
this.
of carrying the game to the finish line. He slowly kept downing levels, passing his old record and making it to 154. This was it. He just needed a single on the final line clear to get it. But then 4 lines in, he misdropped. Now in dig mode, he started optimizing his stack for survival instead of singles. He managed to open his board just in time to fill the long bar dependency, but oh no!
I missed it.
He'd accidentally passed the crash trigger by clearing a triple instead of a single. Scooty marched onward, unsure of when he'd get another chance.
Oh my god. Please crash.
The next available target was on level 157, where every 1 line clear would have a 73% chance of triggering the crash. But as Scooty entered the level, he suddenly started to misdrop again. Nothing was clearing any lines. His chances were slipping away.
Tetris.
But in a last
What?
effort with a J piece to the left, it happened.
Oh nah. Oh nah. I heard you have 17 million.
Immediately, reactions poured in from the rest of the community.
Wait! He got it! Oh my god! Let's go!
The truly crazy thing about this achievement is that NES Tetris had always been considered an unbeatable game. No matter how good you played, eventually your board would reach the top of the screen and the game would be over.
Of course.
This was the first time ever where instead of the game beating the player had beaten the game. And this really feels like a turning point for the scene as a whole. At the time Cheese invented the new rolling play style, he expressed concern that it was too OP and would eventually destroy the scene. But instead, it's caused the scene to have a complete renaissance. Concerns about tournament games going too long due to endless lineouts have instead been replaced by ROM patches adding a new faster speed at level 39 that resulted in exciting battles for bigger line clears that are worth more points. The level and score world records, once thought to be getting stale as they turned into a mere endurance challenge, had suddenly given us the most exciting record chase the community
I'm not going to get a
seen, with
crash.
the world records
I'm
changing
not going
hands
to get a
multiple times
crash.
in a single week. And
Oh
now
no,
that the
I don't
game
want
crash has
it.
officially
Please don't crash.
happened, there's a
Nice.
ton of possibilities of
No.
where the record chasing can go from here. Players could go for speedrunning the crash or trying to get the highest possible score before it.
No, Fractal, he said that he was interested in going for an efficient game crash. So I think he's definitely going to be coming back for the world record.
If he's gonna go for an efficient game crash, then I might as well, too.
And Blue Scooty, as a person, feels like a representation of the very best
Don't
of what
crash.
the community
Yes.
is. At live events, he's
No.
always been a cheerful and gracious competitor. And he's shown that hard work really can pay off. As he said,
just
he
realized I'm
practices
playing on
around
Tetris
3 to 5
Gym.
hours a day.
Do you have anything to say?
I
to
don't have
young
crashes
players
on.
that may get inspired to play because of this historic game?
If
No
you
crash!
set your mind to something and you put work into it, most likely you will get it. If you try hard enough.
His first place finish at the Kansas City Regional
And
Championship
20
this past
million.
month was his first live tournament victory. And if you'd like to see
And
him play live
yeah,
again,
it's
his
finally
next appearance
normal
will be at the Heart of Texas
colors.
Regional Championship in just a few weeks. But one final question remains. After the game crash, is there any major milestone left
Oh.
to achieve in the game?
Eyes wide open.
As it turns out, the answer is
Eyes
yes.
wide
What if, instead
open.
of intentionally trying to get the crash as quickly as possible, you instead try to avoid it? Just how far could you possibly get? In order to push the game further beyond what humans and even AIs can currently do, some people in the community have constructed tool-assisted speedruns, aka TASes, where instead of being played in real time, every move is manually entered in. This allows them to simulate what it would look like if a player was able to avoid
Tetris.
all the potential traps that could trigger the crash. This would become almost a fundamentally different type of challenge than any previous one in the game.
Blackpink.
Instead of being rivals, the player in the game will be working together as a team, with the player doing everything they can to ease the burden of the game's ancient code limping along, keeping them both alive. If both the player and the game survived every pitfall, the final level they would reach is level
Crystal Blue
255,
Bacon.
with a glitched color scheme of pure red. This is the last level that can be stored in the game's memory, and things are so unstable that 5 of the 7 pieces in the game could trigger the crash when falling normally, so the player basically has to push to avoid it. Just how far could you possibly get? In order to push the game further beyond what humans and even
Chat.
Hold on.
Chat.
Crystal Blue Bacon. Crystal Blue Bacon's live.
I don't know what show my face when I. Okay. I think I forgot to clear my thing from last stream. Okay, anyway. Wow, that was Hold up. I did not even. Okay, yo, what is up? I did not know it already showed my face. Wow. Late streaming, you were late. Yeah, late for everything, bro. That's why too. I see you there.
Oh! No way. Up, eyes wide open. Never mind. Oh! What is this blur? Wait, hold on. NTSC. Oh my, that is much better. This feels like NTSC. Oh, yo, yeah, nah, yeah, nah. Yeah!
Oh, wait, I think I see you. Okay. I didn't even know you were streaming today. Yeah, this is a late stream today.
Pop out like this in the World Championships. Corian had infamously gotten eliminated on a misflipped long bar in 2017, a year where he was expected to be a top contender to win it all. But man, this was one of the most unexpected ways I thought I would go out. 99% of the time I'd have my games at home end on missing getting a long bar far enough over, not on missing the rotation. But that's Tetris for you. Terry was still behind in the score, but of course he was a pro, and had plenty of time to chase it down, even setting up a Tetris to win it.
Terry will move him on in the tournament. Scout eliminated. Although, of course, I would have preferred not to go out like that. I'm glad I didn't have any early top-outs. Got to have some games that lasted a while. Never actually been eliminated live in person by a chase down. So it was cool actually to be in the driver's seat, you know, have a lead. The other person has to earn it a little bit. So I'm glad that Terry got to advance, and I'll be rooting for him later in the silver bracket.
Even though the match didn't go the way I'd hoped, the thing I find nice about the way classic Tetris matches work is they really do facilitate an environment of good sportsmanship. Like, Terry hadn't actually ruined my day by pulling some cheap move or dirty trick on me. We were both completely in charge of our own games, which created a dynamic where everybody could kind of independently root for each other to do their best.
Honestly, I'm glad to be playing you. I couldn't have played a better person. No, I'm so glad for everything you do. I seriously love the videos and I learn a lot. Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, Terry had to face the phenom Bat Boy the very next round, and that would be the end of his run.
So go to 29s and Terry at 781. Can't go any further. Bad Boy! 848 to start the game.
When I went back to go watch more gold bracket matches, I ended up sitting in front of Pollo, who was intensely focused on Noe's match on stage as the hopes of Team Mexico lied with him. Pollo had been eliminated by DDT in the silver brackets, and after beating Jeff, Oscar had been taken out by the roller Tristop in the next round. So Noe was the last of the trio of Mexican players to still be in any of the brackets. And he was facing none other than Burb Wizard, the player who'd upset Cheese. But game 1 ended prematurely for Burb after a dig sequence that proved deadly after a dead drop of a T-piece. And in game 2, an early top-out happened again.
Eyepiece needs to fall. Eyepiece doesn't come in. An early top-out from Burb again. So Noe takes game number 2.
Noe was now up 2 games to none and on the verge of advancing, but needed one more game. And it came down to the wire. With both players above 1,000,000 points, level 29 was looming. And both of them were trying to hold out for one last Tetris that didn't seem to come.
Now we holding out for this last Tetris before 29, and this board is starting to get this dangerous. And we're running into a drought, and now he's in trouble. Now he needs to get pieces and try and open up the well, but it's not going to happen. But same thing's going to happen for Burb. Burb trying to do it, and now he's going to take game number 3.
Noe taking it by just under 1 Tetris.
Noe had done it. Team Mexico had advanced to the top 16. Since the top 16 wouldn't start until the next day, Noe now had the rest of the day to rest and prepare. Looking at the big picture of the brackets, all of the big 6 had easily progressed to the top 16 by the end of the day. Well, everyone except maybe Eric. His top 32 opponent, K-Poke, built a massive lead into level 29 on the first game, and Eric had to line out until level 34 to win. Game 2, K-Poke had an even bigger lead into level 29, and it took Eric until level 37 to chase it down. After Eric topped out early in game 3, K-Poke had the biggest lead yet into level 29 in game 4. A monstrous 200,000, and this time it took Eric all the way until level 43 before he had finished the chase down and would finally advance to the top 16.
Eric is going to advance to top 16. But I want you guys to give an extra round of applause to K-Poke. That performance was phenomenal.
Confusing Poke is my code. Line tap to the WC.
Given that it was the last match of the day, Eric kept playing and got all the way to level 47. Completely uncharted territory for within a World Championships match. But even then, none of us could have predicted what would happen the following day during the big finale featuring the top 16 to the finals.
There could be a new champion by the end of today.
Una and I arrived bright and early, so we wouldn't miss a thing. The top 16 players were being gathered for photos as the first and second place trophies awaited the finalists on stage. To prepare for his match, Alex T indulged in his energy drink of choice.
Purpose.
He's gonna win now.
Once the crowd had arrived, everyone stood for the Tetris national anthem. And just like that, the action had started. After fighting all the way to the top 16, unfortunately Noe had to face a big 6 opponent, Fractal 161.
I don't know if he could, how much longer he's gonna be able to
Get it over, but it doesn't burn, and I don't know if it's ready for the next piece.
Oh no.
Oh, and that's gonna be it.
3 games later, Noe's tournament run had predictably finished, but his teammates Poyo and Oscar watched and applauded to the very end. And then there was Alex T's match. Now let's talk briefly about how his bizarre qualifier scrambled the bracket. If the Big 6 had gotten the top 6 seeds as expected, the top 2 seeds would be rewarded by not having to face another Big 6 member until the semifinals, and the other 4 would face each other in the quarterfinals. But because Alex T had finished down at the 8th seed, he would now face the number 1 seed and fellow Big 6 member Fractal in the quarterfinals, along with Andy and Huff, and Eric and Dog would have the easier path to the semifinals instead. Of course, Alex T still had to earn his way to the quarterfinals to begin with, as his opponent Sidnev, the European champion, was no slouch, and would coast to a Game 1 victory over Alex with over 1.2 million points. Near the beginning of Game 2, Alex accidentally overrolled a square to the right and shook his head in disbelief. 2 more misdrops later, and Alex had topped out and was now down 0-2 in the set. He unplugged his controller and jostled it around, hoping to correct whatever might be wrong with it. But Game 3 would fare no better. He double flipped an S-piece to get stuck in a high dig, and then missed a long bar on the left that spelled game over.
And Dachi hangs and tops out! Sidnev completes an upset, and Dachi is eliminated from the tournament.
For the first time in half a year, a member of the
White
Big
Tetris.
6 had been defeated by someone outside the Big 6. Alex slowly walked off stage, consoled by the cameraman, while Sidnev received a round of congratulations from fellow European players. Sidnev would end up becoming the only non-American to make the top 8 of the gold bracket. And to get over his tournament loss, Alex sat down at one of the qual stations and proceeded to obliterate the game, getting over 700,000 into level 19, nearly a perfect transition, and making it all the way to level 50 again. With the rest of the Big 6 comfortably advancing, some of them took a break to relax before the top 8 matches began. Eric sat down to play Tetris the Grandmaster with the other TGM players, same as he had done on his laptop next to me on the airplane. And all this time there had still been action going on in the silver bracket. The finals would come down to DeAsian, a roller who had coasted his way through the left side of the silver bracket, and Ian Keith, an older DAS player who'd had an incredible run, taking out Quaid in the top 8 and Batfoy in the semifinals. The finals would be best of 5, same as the gold bracket. In Game 1, Ian maintained a lead all the way until the end, when the pieces didn't work out for him to push across the final Tetrises, and DeAsian was able to chase it down right before level 29 with a clean board.
I keep missing.
But in Game 2, Ian would show off the capabilities of what DAS could do. He pulled off several incredible quick taps, the hardest trick within the DAS playstyle. Although he topped out shortly afterwards, DeAsian would have a lengthy chase down, and after the board fell apart, things looked dire.
Still get it over! Not dead yet! The Asian cannot finish it, and we are tied!
everything tied up, Ian Keith did his best but couldn't pull out a win in Game 3. He would need a win in Game 4 to stay alive and had a tough board due to a drought at the transition.
This is dangerously high right here. Well, oh no, well sealed. Well is sealed for Ian Keith. Getting that over. Wow, nice quick tap. Can Ian Keith get this down? Another quick tap.
Unbelievably, Ian's game had ended the same way mine had. With only a small chase down needed, DeAsian got what he needed to seal up the silver bracket victory.
There's another one, 453. There it is! Ladies and gentlemen, DeAsian is your silver bracket CCWC 2022 champion! Hell yeah!
Up on the main stage, the top 8 of the gold bracket was about to start. Van Dweller, now relieved of his duties on the second stage, was broadcasting a live crowd cam to Twitch.
Tetris,
now we were
nice.
really seeing the best of the best. All 4 players on the
Wait,
main stage were now
no, I
rolling
can't do the
masters,
rebirth. I can't do
able
the
to handle
rebirth.
themselves past level 29.
We are at level 29 speed.
Double max out.
For all
Quadro max
4
out.
players.
Quadro kill screen, Quadro max out, let's go!
The level 29 was still incredibly tough. Sidnev played very well, getting a 1.1 million score into level 34 in Game 3, but unfortunately was up against big 6-member Fractal and would be defeated in a sweep, receiving a round of applause from the audience for the deep tournament run. Meanwhile, in the other matchup on stage, Huff and Andy were the only big 6 matchup that ended up happening in the top 8. And Andy pulled off a sweep after Huff unfortunately couldn't get any deep runs going past level 29. Now it was time for the second pair of matchups in the top 8, and Eric ran up on stage holding his blow high and would be facing Hydrant Dude, who had actually briefly held the overall score world record a few years prior when competing under the alternate identity of Jounce. Hydrant Dude held his own, throwing up max outs 3 games in a row, with
2030.
ringing a cowbell for every max out,
Alright,
but Eric
next
had
box.
just morphed into Mr.
Eyes
Consistent.
wide open. Next box. Eyes wide open.
Control, and with Eric in the lead, it's going to sweep Hydrant, but what a survival effort.
Eric's just been playing incredibly today.
Next box.
Consistency and ability to just keep
Eyes
playing.
wide
I
open.
even had a single lead during that whole time. I don't know if I could really expect to do much when he just doesn't top out.
And finally, Dog faced off against Brodendam, who had made the top 8 in 2020, took a year off, and then in 2022 was back in the top 8 again, being the only player not using the rolling playstyle to make it this far. Brodendam already would have earned the title of Comeback Player of the Year, but he poured on the case by getting an extra Tetris on level 29 without even rolling.
Boom, Tetris for Allen. 29. Another Tetris for Allen.
Brodendam had incredibly scored over 1.2 million and built up a 100,000 point lead, but Dog was just too good.
Oh, gonna need a good tuck. Oh, that's gonna need some burning to clear it off.
At level 29 speeds.
Wow, what a dig.
Digging.
High speed digs.
Still alive. The double.
Wow.
Look at that.
Clean.
Clean board. 10,000 points left. 10,000. What a
Wow, split
burn.
triple.
What a burn for Dog.
And Dog sweeps Allen with authority
And a
Tetris. But wow, just good seeing the
Tetris.
sportsmanship between
Tetris
Allen
again.
and Dog.
Now we were down to the final 4. Nothing but big 6 members. The possibility of a brother versus brother showdown in the finals loomed again. By this time, the other attendees of the expo were starting to crowd around to watch, and it was standing room only, and the semis did not disappoint. Immediately in Game 1, the commentators Chris Tang and James Chen noticed that Fractal was off to a perfect start.
Fractal up to a 38,000 point lead.
Because he's got 100% Tetris rate.
Yeah, perfect game appearing before your eyes. Nothing but Tetrises. Boom, Tetris for
13.
Fractal. Game Scout, are you ready to cover this? Because look at this. 100% Tetris. Could we see a transition with all Tetrises? Oh my goodness.
24.
100 lines in, Fractal was still perfect. This was absurd. I'd never heard a crowd cheer so hard for even a simple L dependency being filled.
Oh, Fractal set up again.
Every Tetris was another milestone at this point.
Oh my goodness. 104 lights. Another Tetris for Fractal. Fractal.
Fractal pulled out all the stops to keep the streak going, even setting up for a vertical I-tuck setup. This would be the end, however, as a line piece didn't come afterwards and Fractal didn't want to risk throwing the game away. But he finished with 108 lines of perfection, or 27 straight Tetrises to start off.
97% Tetris rate, 115 lines, standing ovation for the Fractals. Amazing Tetris streak. Standing ovation, wow!
But that is definitely a record.
If you can believe it, in the end, Fractal actually didn't end up winning the game. He hung a long bar on level 31, and Andy was able to chase down the deficit for the Game 1 victory. But Fractal shook it off no sweat and crushed it in the next 3 games, throwing up a trio of 1.1 million scores and capping off a victory when Andy set up for a Tetris and got droughted on level 29.
Oh, that left side's already a problem, but isn't able to get the level over, and Fractal is going to take the round and the match.
There would be no brother versus brother rematch today. For the first time ever, Fractal had made the finals.
This does not feel real, I think.
And then it was time for Eric's match versus Dog. And despite being a Big Six member and playing well all day, it still felt like Eric was the underdog here. After all, he was facing the reigning 2-time world champion. But then in Game 1, right after the level 29 transition, Dog went for a Tetris and misdropped, causing his board to spiral out of control and top out, while Eric just kept calmly lining out. With double 1.1 million scores, the first round went to Eric. Game 2, double 1.1 million scores happened again, with Dog lining out for a little longer this time, but then tried to set up a center well and misdropped right after. And Eric chased down the score with ease to go up 2 games to none. The crowd couldn't believe it. Was Dog, who potentially could have won his 3rd title in a row, about to go out in a sweep? In Game 3, Dog kept trying to thread the needle of balancing, lining out, and going for Tetrises, but Eric had built up an enormous lead and just wouldn't die.
Eric's screen is filling up a little bit.
Yeah,
Can he
just
burn
a
back
little
down?
more than you're used to seeing from Eric. Whoa! We just saw a perfect clear from Eric.
Dog was pushed beyond where he'd ever had to go before in a live event, and his board fizzled out at level 39.
And isn't able to hold on. Eric completes the sweep and eliminates the 2-time world champion, Dog, playing Tetris, and will advance. But wow, what a run by Dog.
It's such a different experience in CTWC, you know. The nerves just get to you, and I feel like that's one advantage that Eric has. He's just so good at staying composed, and that's honestly such a big reason why he's one of the best players now.
Then a very special guest was invited to the main stage. Back in 2019 at the World Championships, a little girl had stole the show by shouting boom after every Tetris along with the commentators. And now, 3 years later, she would be interviewed before the finals.
So I have with me the lovely little Anastasia. How you doing, honey?
Good.
You came in 2019, you got to see all that. Who was your favorite player back then?
Quaid.
Oh, of course, yes. You are most certainly in the majority of that. They is a fan favorite.
And she turned out to be a skilled
4,
interviewee, navigating difficult questions like a pro.
Here we are.
3.
Again. Do you have a new favorite player that's here now? Maybe Fractal or Eric? Which one do you think might be the winner?
I don't know. They're both good.
So there you go, the winner of CTWC 22. It'll be a tie. They're gonna share the trophy here.
2.
Fractal and Eric took the stage, and it was time to determine a new champion. At this point, the crowd had grown to its largest size yet. Cameras of all types were focused on the players. Even Thor Ackerland, the original winner of the 1990 Nintendo World
Okay,
Championships,
we're gonna last this level for 810 lines.
Tetris on video was in attendance, sitting next to the judge, having been given the best seat in the house. All the fancy moves were being pulled out right from the start.
Fractal starting out with a strong. Oh,
look at that O-tuck.
That was so nice, and he should be able to tuck that in there.
Spin.
Just like that. Oh, here we go.
Perfect clear.
Wait.
Boom, perfect clear for Fractal.
And after the game had really gotten going, some European-style chants started to emerge. Both Eric and Fractal showed right away why they were finalists, cruising their way to the first double 1.3 million score of the tournament on level 40.
Double 1.3!
We are here in uncharted territory. We knew records were going to be broken, and now this is it.
Eventually, Fractal would be the first to falter. He finally had some misdrops do him in on level 47, clinging to barely a 30,000 point lead. But then Eric hung a critical longbar on the left on level 48 and topped out just short.
Oh no,
he plugged it up.
Okay, can he open it up and get it back up? Takes the first round.
48 to 47 levels, 1.5 each. We have over 3 million points between these two players. That was game number 1.
And now Fractal just seemed to be coasting. He built up a massive lead in game 2 going into level 29, but then suddenly topped out on level 36 with only 1.3 million. In almost any other context, this would be a tremendous game, but here it almost felt like an early top out. This would be a much bigger chase down, but this time Eric didn't fumble and sealed the victory on level 44.
There it is, and Eric!
So we are 1-1.
The 189,000 point chase down. We are 1-1.
And then a moment happened that had all the photographers in the room rejoicing. The lights on the ceiling finally got undimmed.
Oh my gosh, I can finally turn down the ISO on my camera.
With game 3 underway and both players tied at 1 apiece, this was looking like an evenly matched set, and the entire crowd was getting into the chants. And now this is where things truly went off the rails. Eric and Fractal went past level 40, then past level 50, and then level 60. The game was never originally designed to last this long. The programmers had set the maximum speed of the game to be reached at level 29, and for decades it had marked the
Okay,
end
we're
of
at
the
the long
game.
level.
Even the best recent rollers hadn't been able to survive indefinitely, but if you could just somehow keep playing at this speed, there was effectively no practical limit on how long the match could go. Eric and Fractal were closing in on 2 million points each, which was almost beyond comprehension, and I had a brief flashback to Y2K as I wondered whether the sharpening program would even display it on the score counter.
2 million
Well, Fractal got into trouble. His board was high and dependent. He would need a bailout longbar to survive.
He's a long bar. Wow! Boom! Tetris for Fractal.
A Tetris at level 67.
This was the first actual Tetris clear the match had seen in quite some time. But Eric was up for the dare and struck right back.
Oh, look at Eric! Eric! Answering back with a
Another one. A Tetris at level 70. At level 69.
The end was nigh, though, as Fractal's board once again climbed up to the top, and his game finished at level 69 with just a small lead. Could Eric chase down the score once more?
9-2.
Eric, his strategy of survival.
And 42.6.
All Thor Ackerlund could do in the back was laugh. How ridiculous was this? The players had basically broken the game. For the longest time, the entire strategy meta was around getting Tetrises. But now you could chase down virtually any size deficit with any type of line clear you wanted past level 29. In fact, the game had lasted so long that Eric ran off the stage to take a bathroom break before game 4. The only question now was, what the heck was going to happen next? With Eric at match point, the crowd counted down what could be the final game of the day.
Oh, what? No.
Right
Shall we
before
go in?
level 29,
We're going.
The most
We're
crucial
going.
moment
We're going.
to have a clean board for the big speed change, disaster struck for Fractal. He wallowed into an infamous board situation where there's no clean spot for squares, and as luck would have it, he got 2 squares in a row.
Fractal having a lot of holes looking like type B. You can't survive type B on 29, can you? Or can you? Let's find out.
He did his absolute best to try and dig out, but it would have taken an absolute miracle. When he hung a longbar on the left, creating an 11 high gap, he surrendered. As on this speed, getting another longbar over 10 rows left required a frame-perfect 30 Hz roll, and anything higher was just impossible. Eric was moments away from closing the score gap, and then it happened.
Points. There we go.
Luigi has become your 2022 CTWC champion!
We have a new champion!
Eric sat, seemingly in a daze, taking the moment in right before he was lined up for an interview.
Eric, let's go in and discuss here. Obviously, Fractal, a more than formidable opponent for you. How were you able to concentrate through that whole entire ordeal?
I have no idea. I don't know if I'm going to be able to ever do it again, but just for this once, just to be up there, best thing in the world. And this is the best day of my life so far.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2022 World Champion of Classic Tetris, Eric ICX!
Eric walked off the stage to rest against the wall for a moment, in preparation for inevitably getting mobbed by all the other Tetris players wanting to see the golden trophy up close, which was in the shape of a J in remembrance of Jonas Neubauer, the 7-time champion that had passed away 2 years prior. The line etched on the back of the J trophy was a quote he had made during an interview saying,
"If you're a high visibility player, it's on you to move the community in a positive direction."
And sure enough, Eric was about to be a very high visibility player, rocketing to the top of Reddit for his record-setting moment in the finals, and even hitting the top of the Blowhigh subreddit for having a blowhigh during his interview.
So that's what happens when you win CWC. Just endless Discord notifications.
First.
Then Greg Cannon drove a group of us, including Eric, to the after party, which was hosted at Desert Island Studios, where Eric did what was only natural for any newly crowned Tetris World Champion to do: play more Tetris. The festivities really got going when everyone else arrived, but the best part was that we noticed there was a piano at the venue. I remembered that the qual checker, Chris Forrest, had written a parody Tetris song several years prior that many people were familiar with called When You Get the Line, to the tune of Pompeii by Bastille, and I asked him if he would be willing to do a live performance of it with me.
25% of the way. I need 3,100 lines. I need 600 more.
The next day, it was time to head home, but everyone's stories weren't quite over yet. So what happened after the World Championships for everyone? Funnily enough, the silver bracket winner DeAsian's local news station would end up running a story on it, declaring him to be the overall Tetris World Champion.
He's a young man, defeated everybody around the world. What's like the big secret? How do you win?
My secret is a lot of practice, getting less sleep, and having a lot of free time.
So there it is. Now you know what it takes to be the World Tetris Champion.
As for the Big Six, Dog would go on to continue to win more monthly titles, and set a new record with the highest pre-29 transition score in Classic Tetris monthly history. Andy would also face his brother Dog in the finals of several more monthly titles, and actually win in August 2023, finally pulling off a win in a huge moment against his brother. Hufflepuffus would continue his overall dominance and rack up more regional titles. Second place finisher Fractal had actually been an advocate since long before the tournament that the rolling technique meant NES Tetris was gonna need a ROM patch that added a line cap, and that this would encourage better strategies in the game.
My perspective has always been that tournament play should prioritize like the highest level of play possible.
Okay, let's go.
I think that's going
aggressive, going for Tetrises,
And
like
it's
having good plans. I find going for Tetrises on 29 more like mechanically impressive than just like lining out the way that I did. If we were to reward this something that prioritizes efficiency, I think line caps are the simplest and most elegant solution to that.
This wasn't to try and gain any advantage for himself. After all, Fractal was one of the best line outers in the scene. After the World Championships finals though, Fractal had been able to prove his point beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Back when we were talking about maybe changing how we do competitive in an attempt to like encourage different styles of stacking, I told Eric we were gonna have a long game someday. And then we met in CTM and then it completely failed. It was so sad, I blew the chance. But we're here now, and like I actually like came through this time. So I'm just really happy right now. And doing my best not to think about all the homework I have due in the next 2 days.
And even the winner Eric agreed when asked off stage about his thoughts on line caps for next year.
Needed 100%. Go even longer next year since the line cap.
But as it turns out, Fractal would get an even better version of his wish. It started to become standard in top tournaments not to have a line cap, but a new final speed increase at level 39, where the game reaches a truly ludicrous speed dubbed the Super Kill Screen. Alex T would actually find redemption by winning the biggest tournament with the Super Kill Screen, the Mega Masters tournament in April 2023.
Tommy gets another one in, can't get the long bar over, gets it over for the 0.68, but it is not enough because Alex is already ahead and has clinched the Game 5 victory, and Alex T is your new Mega Masters champion.
And then finally, the champion Eric ICX, after many months of work, released an 80-minute magnum opus on his YouTube channel celebrating the world record progression of high scores in the NES Tetris community. As for me, I finally got something I had been aiming at for a very long time, just a month and a half after the tournament happened.
Come on! Is that it? Oh my gosh! Woohoo! Max out!
At the very beginning of my Tetris journey back in 2018, I probably would have said I had two long-term stretch goals in mind. To one day make it into the bracket at CTWC and also max out the game. And years later, well, I managed to do it. So I feel like I can be satisfied no matter what happens now. But there's one additional thing I got that I wouldn't have expected at the beginning of when I started playing. And that's to become part of an incredible community of supportive people. I've said it in videos in the past, but the best part of Tetris, and really any niche hobby you can find enjoyment in, is the ability to connect with a ton of people you otherwise never would have met. And because of that, I'm so glad the World Championships finally got to return to being in person. And the great thing is, in less than a week, we get to do this all over again. At the time of uploading this, the 2023 World Championships are happening in just a few days, with basically the exact same format as 2022, but with the addition of the Super Kill Screen. And there really isn't a big six this year. With how many new top players and upsets we've seen over the monthly tournaments recently, there's as many as a dozen players or more that are legitimate contenders for the title. I don't know if I'll be able to make the brackets again, but I'll be there the entire time to document what happens as best I can. And thank you to all the incredible people who've supported me on the Patreon page I launched last month to make more videos like this in the future possible. With an extra special thank you to channel sponsors Scott Gray and Dave Jones. Until then, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.
To the moon.
top of the screen into complete rows in order to clear out lines of the board. For every 10 lines you clear, the level increases and the pieces fall slightly faster. The game's fastest speed is reached at level 29, where the pieces fall a row every single frame, and at this level, the game can't move pieces to the sides fast enough if you hold down the directional buttons. They'll always land slightly short of the full side. For this reason, level 29 was considered the kill screen, because this level would always kill your run. However, level 29 isn't really a kill screen in the traditional sense.
Million Tetris.
Code that makes it impossible to progress further, like the 22nd stage of Donkey Kong, where the timer is 4 seconds long, or the 256th level of Pac-Man, where half of the board is corrupted, making it impossible to progress further. But NES Tetris doesn't have any game-breaking glitches at level 29. The only problem is that holding down the buttons can't get pieces to the sides anymore. Level 29 is clearable if you could somehow get the pieces to the side faster. And over the years, multiple players would develop techniques to do just that. The first player to survive past level 29 was Thor Ackerlund, reaching level 30 in 2011. He did this by using a technique known as hyper-tapping, where he vibrated his thumb over the D-pad in order to press it faster than the game's built-in auto-shifter could. 7 years later in 2018, a teenage player named Joseph Saley used hyper-tapping to reach level 31, kicking off a revolution of new teenage hyper-tappers. And in 2021, one of these players, Cheese, would develop a new technique, rolling, where instead of pushing his finger into the button on top, he rolled his fingers on the back of the controller into a finger he had on top of the button. Using this technique, Cheese was able to achieve movement speeds much faster than any other technique and at the limit of what the game can physically process, giving him much more room to work with on level 29. The rolling
That's
play
not what I
style turned
meant.
out to be what we needed to make level 29 completely playable, and if you'd like to learn more about how we got here, I'll have a video about this linked in the description. But the speed of level 29 isn't the only thing preventing us from playing further. You may have noticed that in every screenshot I showed of a level past 29, the level number was either wrong or not a number. This is because the game developers didn't expect anyone to go past level 29, so the table of level values only goes from 0 to 29. Every value after that is just a random bit of game data. In Thor's case, level 30 is 00, and in Joseph's case, level 31 is 0A. And once we go further, even more elements of the game will
No!
NES Tetris has 10 unique color palettes for the pieces.
Oh.
Every 10 levels, these palettes are supposed to repeat.
And
it turns out that this seemingly
400 lines completed.
Due to a faulty calculation. If you want to learn more
I mean
about this,
410.
Ignorant Dude has a great video on why exactly this happens. I'll put the link in the description below. The result of this behavior breaking down is that starting at level 138, the game pulls color palettes for the pieces from places it's not supposed to. These color palettes are known by the community as the glitched colors. In total, there are 118 glitched color levels. Well, actually 106, since levels 161 and 225 are just the level 1 palette, and levels 192 to 201 are actually just the 10 normal palettes. And out of these 106 levels, there are actually only 49 unique palettes, since there are a couple duplicates, and the colors repeat around halfway through the sequence. You might notice that some of these palettes are quite a bit darker than others. In total, out of the 49 unique glitched color palettes, there are 11 color palettes that I'd consider to be hard to see due to some dark block colors, and these palettes span 24 levels out of the 106 total levels of the glitched colors. These color palettes can be made brighter by adjusting the settings on your CRT, like I've shown here with level 146's palette, but some palettes are going to be hard to see no matter what, like level 148. But if we want to get to level 255, there is a much more significant barrier than the palettes.
We need to
the
go.
NES is, at its core, a very old computer. The developers of NES Tetris had to carefully optimize their code in order to make sure that everything could be done in a reasonable time frame. So what do you think would happen if some part of the game took longer than ever expected, like for example, the scoring calculations? Well, as it turns out, if we take too long to do these calculations, there's a chance that the game will crash. Here's a small diagram which should show what normally happens every frame. Hydrant Dude goes into more detail about this in a video he made, but the important thing to know is that if we take too long with these calculations, the timing of the forced end-of-frame graphics update happens in a part of code that it never normally would, and there's a chance the CPU won't be able to resume what it was doing properly. If
Hold
this
on.
happens, the CPU starts running data from the beginning of the NES's RAM as code, which causes the CPU to crash. This glitch is the true kill screen of the game. The first opportunity to crash the game is at level 155, where the game will crash if you clear a single into this level. On January 2nd, 2024, Fractal161 became the first person to crash the game at this point. And as you go onwards through the levels, there are even more ways to crash the game, 102 in total. However, we can avoid these crash points by changing how long the score calculations take, and we can do this by changing what types of lines we clear. So if a single crashes the game, we can clear doubles instead, and if a double crashes the game, we can clear triples instead, so on and so forth. This raises the question, is it possible to avoid crashing the game and get all the way to level 255? Before we get started with this section, I want to say something. Rolling is not easy. Rolling is very hard. There's a lot of things you have to think about when rolling at level 29 speeds, which takes nearly all of your concentration, and most of the information that I'm about to present is subconscious to players now, and they'll now have to actively keep track of these elements if they want to avoid the crash. And only 3 players so far have even managed to get far enough to crash the game in the first place, and these 3 players are Blue Scooty, Fractal161, and Pixelandy. With that out of the way, let's go over a few bits of essential knowledge. The types of line clears that can cause the game to crash depends on the level you're currently playing, or if applicable, the level that you're transitioning into. You can pause the video now for a full list of what types of line clears will crash the game at what levels. Most of these clears won't crash the game 100% of the time, but there's still usually a significant chance that I don't think any player would want to take. This brings us to our first way of avoiding the crash. Don't clear the types of lines that crash the game at that level. For example, on level 157, singles can crash the game, so the easiest way to avoid the crash on this level is to not clear singles and stick to doubles, triples, and Tetrises. But what if you absolutely have to take a single? Well, in this scenario, there are 3 more methods you can use to avoid a crash. Pushing down for 1 to 7 pushdown points, pushing down for over 7 pushdown points, and flashing the next box. The pushdown methods are pretty self-explanatory, although it is nearly impossible to get over 7 pushdown points on level 29. But flashing the next box is something that no one has ever had to do in a real game. Until now. It's not super well known, but pressing select on the controller will toggle the next box on or off. Whether or not the next box is active on the frame after a line clear changes the odds of whether or not the game will crash. So effectively, what a player has to do is turn off the next box while a piece is falling, wait for the line to clear, and turn it back on immediately when the next piece comes. And they have to do this while also focusing on rolling. It's doable, but it's definitely going to require the development of some new muscle memory. These 3 methods don't work for every type of line clear at every point, and sometimes these methods can even cause the game itself to crash, but I'm going to cover in detail which methods work and which ones don't at what points in a future video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. The important thing, however, is that for every possible type of line clear that can crash the game, doing at least one of these 3 techniques will prevent the game from crashing. However, there is something else we have to worry about: desyncs. It's guaranteed that at some point between levels 164 and 179, the game will skip a level up visually, and it will skip a line clear event visually. Let's talk about what I mean by both of those. When you level up in NES Tetris, the game will play a sound, increase the level counter, and change the palette to the next level's color. However, if you clear a single which would transition you to level 164 or higher, the game will play the level up sound, but it will not advance the level color or palette. At this point, you're playing level 164, but the game shows that you're playing level 163. By level 177, this will also happen for all 3 other types of line clears. Therefore, it's guaranteed that by the transition into 177, the game, at some point, will have switched to displaying the palette that should have been used for the previous level, and the palette and level counter will stay 1 level behind for the rest of the game. Unfortunately, this means that the blood red palette that has been shown in some other videos as belonging to level 255 is not actually shown for this level. It's actually this palette. But if you thought the game being behind on displaying your level was hard enough, there's arguably an even more confusing desync that can happen between the displayed line count and the internal line count. Starting at level 166, singles will stop immediately updating the displayed line count after they're cleared. This means that if you clear a single at, say, 1600 lines, the game will still display 1600 lines, even though your internal line count is 1601 at this point. and if you clear another single, the displayed count will update to 1601, even though the internal line count is 1602. At this point, the way to get the game back on track is to clear a different number of lines, which will get the displayed and internal line counts back in sync. By level 179, all 3 other types of line clears will stop updating the displayed line counter as well. However, the last level where line clears can crash the game is 173, so if you lose track of your line count, the only consequence is getting caught off guard by a color change. This could still be deadly, but not as deadly as potentially crashing the game. And on top of this, there's an interesting visual glitch that can happen as well, called confetti. Well, actually, it's 2 different visual glitches, which I'll refer to as limited confetti and infinite confetti. The earliest point limited confetti can be triggered is clearing a single into level 160, which causes the game to seemingly freeze. There are a couple of graphical glitches across the screen, but the most important one for us is this little character that's moving downwards. Once this touches the location of the next piece, the game will resume. The behavior of this glitch can be changed with certain button presses. By holding B, down, left, or right, we can make the game not resume until we release these buttons, and by pressing either A or select, we can make the game resume immediately. Now, let's move on to infinite confetti. The earliest point this glitch can be triggered is clearing a single into level 167, and this time the game isn't just frozen temporarily, it will be frozen forever, at least until we press any button. Both types of confetti can happen up until level 182, but covering every single point it can happen would take too much time. However, the last level where line clears can crash the game is 173, so a player may want to use infinite confetti on level 174 to take a break, before playing the remaining 81 levels. Doing some quick napkin math, if each level is 10 lines long, there are another 810 lines until level 255 from here. But unfortunately, this isn't the case, because one of the levels between 174 and 255
Your shot, we're locked in.
is
We're locked in.
810 lines long, instead of the usual 10. This is because of a level up calculation that breaks
We're
down,
locked in.
and the point that it breaks down depends on what level you start at. If we start between levels 15 and 19, the 810
We need
line level
200
will
more
occur at
lines
235.
to
Now,
literally pass this
unfortunately,
little
this specific
level.
level has this color palette, which is the second darkest out of all of the glitched colors. And we have to play this palette for 810 lines. But if we change the level that we start on, we can also change the level, and by extension color palette, that we have to spend 810 lines playing.
Yo,
If we start
that's
at
not
level
my,
14,
that's my,
the long level is
I didn't,
234,
why?
If
I
we
didn't
start at
do
level
that.
13,
I was
12,
just
11,
AFK
or
and then
10,
suddenly
the
my
long
game
levels are
resumed and
223,
I dropped out.
222,
I
221,
almost
and
topped
220
out.
respectively, which have these 4 palettes. And lastly, if we start between levels 0 and 9, the long level is 219. Personally, I like the palette of level 220 best, with 234 being a close second. But no matter what you think, I think we can all agree that any of these palettes are better than 235s. However, even if we keep level 235 as our long level, there is still one last challenge to overcome before we can get to level 255, and well, here it is. Starting at level 249, the simple act of placing a piece can crash the game. You heard that right. Placing a piece can crash the game. This simple fact makes these last few levels the hardest of them all. Even though we've already cleared over 3,200 lines, these last 60 lines are on a whole other level of difficulty. On level 249, placing a Z, O, S,
Guys, we have 100 more lines.
has a 73% chance of
We have 100 more lines before we can escape
if
this
you wish to
little
get past
level.
this level, you must either push down or flash the next box whenever you place 5.
Nah, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble.
Whenever you clear a line, the game is guaranteed to not crash, even if you don't push down or flash the next box. And this behavior, fortunately, also holds true for all levels past this point. Levels 250, 251, and 252 all have color palettes that are among the hardest to see of all of the glitched colors.
Tetris!
Fortunately, placing pieces or clearing lines will not crash the game on any of these 3 levels. On level 253, if you place a Z, O, S, L, or I piece, there is a 10% chance of crashing the game. However, unlike level 249, flashing the next box will drastically increase these odds, so if you don't want to roll a D10, you must push down instead if you aren't clearing a line. If you can get past this level, there are only 2 left. Level 254 has a color palette that is completely made of dark blue. Pushing down or flashing the next box is nearly a guaranteed crash on this level, but if you play normally, this is easy to avoid. And now, we've reached the final level, 255. This level is known as the Rebirth screen because of what happens if you can beat it. This level has a color palette that is almost completely dark purple, and for the next 10 lines, placing a Z, O, S, L, or I piece will crash the game 73% of the time. If you wish to avoid these odds, you must, once again, either push down or flash the next box whenever you place 5 out of the 7 pieces without clearing a line.
Because we have a couple more. We have a couple more lines left.
It's the final level in the game.
We have 40 more.
Able to get
35,
past it, along
34,
with many other pitfalls
33,
along the way. This is what
32,
you'll see.
31.
The level loops back around to 0. Our long journey through areas of NES Tetris that weren't supposed to be seen or even exist
25.
will finally come to a close. We've come
22,
all the way
21,
back to the
20,
end of the game.
18,
There's absolutely nothing preventing you from
17,
playing further
16,
since the game has effectively
15,
been reborn at level
12,
0.
10,
The natural question after we get to this
9,
point is, what's
6,
next?
5,
Well, I don't really know. In the beginning of 2024,
2,
which is when I'm writing
1.
this video, we don't know for sure if some of the crash avoidance techniques I covered
Let's
in this video
go.
are actually human viable. But if someone ever does manage to get to level 255 and loop the game back around, I think we'll know what's next by then. Or at the very least, we'll have a better idea of what's next. Hey, before I end the video, I just want to say really quickly that this video would not have been possible without the amazing help of Hydrant Dude and other people in the ROM hacking channel of the CTM Discord. If you want to check out Hydrant Dude stuff, it's all going to be in the description. Definitely check out the Crash Theory spreadsheet if you want to learn more about what specific points can crash the game. And one more thing before I go. Relative to a lot of other stuff in the NES Tetris community, most of this is pretty new information, so it's possible I might have made a mistake or there might have been some inaccuracy in the information I used. If I think it's significant enough to tell you guys, I'm going to put it in a pinned comment down below. And I think that's everything, yeah, so thanks for watching. Bye!
We need 70 million.
Tetris, the most popular puzzle game in history. From the Electronica 60 to the Nintendo Switch, almost every game console has some version of this legendary game. If you've heard of video games, you've heard of Tetris. But how far can such a simple game be taken? What happens when Tetris is pushed to its limits? Many players have chosen to push modern variants of Tetris to the edge, and with virtually no limiting factors on how fast they can play, the best of them are capable of placing over 7 pieces on the board every second. Other players have opted to push games like the Tetris the Grandmaster series to the edge, which features mechanics that are far less permissive in pursuit of the ultimate achievement, Grandmaster. But some players have opted to go back to where everything began. When you remove the whole piece, every piece preview besides one, and the ability to slide pieces around on a stack before they lock, the result is NES Tetris. Released in 1989 for
70
the Nintendo
million!
Entertainment System, people have been playing
Let's
and
go.
pushing the high scores up for nearly 35 years. This is the story of those
Perfect!
players
Clear!
who completely changed the game. This is
Nah.
the world record progression of NES Tetris.
Nah. Nah. Nah, bro. Nah. Right here and stop.
The game of Tetris likely doesn't need much explanation, but here's a quick rundown. The player drops pieces called tetraminos into a board 10 columns wide and 20 rows tall. If a row of blocks is fully filled, the row is cleared from the board and everything reaches this number, the player has maxed out the game. The story of NES Tetris World Records begins in 2009. At this point, even though NES Tetris is well past its heyday, a few people, most of whom have been playing the game ever since it came out, are still secretly playing it. Some members of this little community are connected with each other through forums, and some only play by themselves, not knowing others are doing the same. A site called Twin Galaxies is the way that most of these people keep track of everyone else's scores. Going back to our two notable achievements, the Max Out and Level 30, several people had claimed them at this point, but none had acceptable proof. Thor Ackerland, the winner of the 1990 Nintendo World Championships, had claimed to max the game out and reach level 30 in 1990, but he had no proof, not even images, and as such, these were merely claims. A Nintendo Power issue from 1992 showed a player named Scott Anderson from Windsor, Ontario having a max out, so presumably a picture or VHS tape of this score must have existed.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Had ever seen it. And a player named JW Tetris on the forums of the time had claimed to max the game out in 1996, with the recording on a lost VHS tape. Since no one else had been able to get either a max out or a level 30 on video since, some questioned if these accomplishments were even possible. A player would have to fit so much perfection into the space of just 230 lines before the kill screen, they said. It was infeasible, they said. But on April 19th, 2009, it happened. Harry Hong achieved the very first max out to be verified by Twin Galaxies. However, Harry wasn't the first. Jonas Neubauer had 2 max outs on video before Harry Hong got his on video, but neither were of acceptable quality for Twin Galaxies. The first was a level 18 max out without game audio posted in 2005, and the second was a level 19 max out recorded on a flip phone, posted in 2008. The latter may very well be the first recorded level 19 max out in the history of NES Tetris. However, the extremely low quality and lack of game audio made it seem almost like Bigfoot footage, so it's not hard to understand why this wasn't sufficient proof. However, with the knowledge we have today, we can reasonably conclude that both of these games were legitimate. Not too long after Harry's video, Thor Ackerland also posted footage of a max out achieved starting on 19 and ending with a level 30. It's unfortunately not proof Thor ever maxed out in 1990, but his incredible skill in 2011 makes a compelling argument that he did. At this point, however, we reach a period of uncertainty. Since the score counter in NES Tetris stops at 999,999, the world record progression of NES Tetris is extraordinarily hard to track across the early years. Rather than going through the process of hand-calculating scores past the max out, most players simply track the number of lines they took to max out. That was until March 21st, 2015, when Joshua Tolles created the Game Genie code NUGES. This Game Genie code uncaps the score counter of NES Tetris, allowing players to tally their scores past max out easily. The way it works is that the leading digit of the score becomes a hexadecimal letter. So A is 10, B is 11, C is 12, etc. The highest score that I was able to find prior to the introduction of this Game Genie code is this score by Ben Mullen, uploaded on December 22nd, 2013. However, since most players at the time were playing for early max outs and likely did not care for their overall score, it is possible that someone may have scored higher in the past. For example, in this game played by Matt Bucco in 2012, he maxes out midway through level 26 before the video cuts out, and this is the last frame. Unfortunately, we may never know what the final score was, despite the full video presumably existing on Bucco's hard drive, since he hasn't returned home for 10 years. However, Bucco could have theoretically gotten a score much higher than Ben Mullen's game, which almost didn't even get to level 29 after a series of misdrops, but fortunately Ben eventually got the line piece to finish out the game with 1,071,121 points. The first recorded 1.1 and 1.15 million scores were achieved by Harry Hong in April of 2015, a month after NUGES was introduced. But considering the potential that Bucco's game held all the way back in 2012, it is likely that these were not the first 1.1 million scores or even the highest. However, the next milestone, 1.2 million, would prove to be much harder to accomplish. We return back to Harry Hong, nearly 2 years later. Since his 2 recorded 1.1 million scores on his YouTube channel, Harry has started streaming his games live on Twitch. In this stream, he is going for 1.2, as evidenced by the pace chart at the top left. Compared to a 1.1 million, a score of 1.2 million is incredibly
Hold on,
difficult
y'all.
because there is far less margin of error for a player to mess up than if they were to score a 1.1. It is necessary to score up to 100,000 more points than a 1.1 score during the exact same space of 230 lines. 100,000 points is around 3 or 4 Tetrises. That might not sound like a lot, but that means that a player has 12 to 16 less lines to burn. And burn lines add up fast. Just a single misdrop can easily force a player to burn 6 to 8 lines. To score a 1.2, a player must play even closer to perfection.
Pace is real.
Harry smashes his pace goal of 600 to 650,000 at the 130 line transition with a score of
Hold on, chat.
696,000.
Oh, I have 400 gems. I forgot.
Harry maxes out in level 25, breaking the highest score he expected he needed for a 1.2. Harry scores 1.1 midway through level 27.
What is this?
With a double on level 29, Harry Hong achieves the first ever 1.2 million score in NES Tetris, claiming the world record. After the 1.2
I
million
am
barrier was
very
broken in NES
hungry. I
Tetris,
want a
the only
snack.
thing left was to become the second one to break it. Jonas Neubauer needs no introduction. He possibly achieved the very first max out, and the first one recorded on video, and has won every Classic Tetris World Championships event at this point, except in 2014, when he lost to Harry Hong. Needless to say, he's one of the best players in the world. Right now, Jonas is playing a casual game, or so he thinks. Jonas transitions at 666,000 points. At this point, in order to break the 1.2 million barrier, he needs around 533,000 points after level 19. Jonas hits 205 lines, 17 points shy of a max out. He has 4 lines available to burn for 1.2, and takes 2 of them already.
Rabbit's chest. Ooh, bandage. I could save myself. Cool, I'm heading for food. I'll take it though.
Jonas goes into level 28 with 1 line left to burn for a 1.2, and takes it. Jonas gets a 1.2 million score of his own, and he doesn't even know it at the moment. As far as he knows, it's just a casual game. I max out midway through level 26, and some play afterwards. And it's at this point that it sets in that 1.2 million is perfectly achievable for high-level players. Around a year later, Jonas Neubauer is once again playing some casual games of Tetris on stream. Over the past year, Jonas has proven his skill by streaming much more than just high score attempts. He streamed Tetris speedruns, analyzed both his own games and games from his subscribers on Twitch, and has even commentated himself while playing. And that's just what I've been able to find in his Twitch highlights. From this, Jonas has shown that he's capable of another score above 1.2 million, and the only thing he needs for that to happen is a good sequence of pieces from the RNG. Jonas transitions at 675,000 points. With a score like this, he will need around 536,000 points to beat his previous world record of approximately 1.21 million points. Jonas maxes out into level 26 at approximately 199 lines. This is about 1.5 Tetrises ahead of the pace he had in his previous world record.
Let's go!
Unfortunately, at the beginning of level 28, Jonas created a very bumpy stack, which forced him to create a hole, and this forced him to burn later on, sacrificing one of his Tetris opportunities. Nevertheless, this game was an incredibly strong showing from Jonas, and helped prove that he was still on top after his victory at the 2017 Classic Tetris World Championships. This next score, also by Jonas Neubauer, is quite significant for a reason that I will mention later. This record was set during a casual stream of his, just like his last world record.
We got some food. We got stacks of food.
Jonas transitions at 677,000. With a score like this, he will need around 553,000 points after the level 19 transition to beat his previous record. Jonas maxes out into level 25 at 190 lines, one of the earliest recorded max outs in history. Jonas scores 1.1 million into level 27, and at this point, he only needs 4 Tetrises or so to break his previous world record.
Bunny foot. I need a bunny foot. Trying to hide in my food. Alright, you will be my food.
Oh, let's go! Get out of my face! Oh my gosh, that pace!
Jonas breaks his previous world record with a Tetris into level 29 and a double on the kill screen, coming incredibly close to 1.25 million. Up until now, every score world record, including Jonas's 1.245 million, has been set with the DAS playstyle. I explained this earlier in the video, but if you missed it, basically it's playing by holding down the directional buttons and letting the game's built-in delayed autoshifter move the piece for you. But there is another option, and it would prove so superior to DAS that a DAS player would never hold the score world record ever again. That option is just not using the DAS at all. If you can tap faster than 10 times per second, you can move the pieces around faster than the game's built-in DAS, and this technique is called hypertapping. Koji Nishio, or Korion, is a player who may need a small introduction. His first experiences with Tetris were with Sega Tetris, and later Tetris the Grandmaster, the prominent versions of Tetris in Japan. That being said, he isn't a new player to the NES Tetris community, with his competition premiere being in CTWC 2016, where he made it to the top 4, losing against Jonas. He is also one of 3 known hypertappers in the community at this point, with the other 2 being Thor Ackerlund and a mysterious figure on YouTube known as Spectre or Dan Z. This game was played during one of his practice streams, where he was trying to improve and maybe beat his personal best of 1.202 million points. Korion transitions at 674,000 points, well on pace for a score above 1.2 million.
I need another snack. I'm hungry.
Corian maxes out into level 26 at around 199 lines. Although this is worse than Jonas's previous score, where he maxed out into level 25 at 190 lines, one of the main advantages of hypertapping is that a player can maneuver pieces into places where they otherwise wouldn't be able to fit, effectively giving a hypertapper like Corian more options on where he can place his pieces than someone like Jonas, allowing him to usually score higher with the same RNG. Corian goes into level 28 with 1.15 million and no lines left to burn. At this point, he needs to play perfectly to get the world record.
One. Freeze! Freeze, come on! Yes! Woo! Yes! Yes!
With a Tetris into level 29, Corian breaks the 1.25 million barrier and takes one of the most contested world records in NES Tetris from Jonas Neubauer. This score marks the beginning of the reign of hypertappers. But up until this point, the speed of level 29 has remained a kill stream, with only 3 people known to have reached level 30. Thor Ackerland, Yanni Herlevy, and Corian. Of these people, Thor and Corian are hypertappers. Like I said before, one of the main advantages of hypertapping is that players have much more maneuverability over their pieces. This is going to get slightly technical, so stay with me here. In the beginning of the video, I said that with DAS, it would take between 300 to 500 milliseconds to get a piece from the center of the board to the side of the screen. Well, it only takes 300 milliseconds for a piece to fall to the very bottom of the stack in level 29, and this is why it is only barely possible to survive on level 29 with DAS. However, with hypertapping, the time to get a piece from the center of the screen to the side of the board is reduced to approximately 200 to 400 milliseconds, depending on how much faster than DAS a player can tap the controller, and this gives just enough wiggle room to the best hypertappers to play at the bottom of the stack on level 29. Up until this point, playing to a level past 30 had been considered impossible, but that was all about to change. In 2018, a new generation of team players is beginning to form. Some of them are DAS players and some of them are hypertappers. Joseph Saley is one of the latter. He has already gotten 43 max outs and 20 level 30s, as can be seen by his counters in the bottom right, and in this stream he is going for level 31. Most of these teens have gotten into NES Tetris after seeing CTWC content and or the Boom Tetris for Jeff meme video on YouTube.
Boom, Tetris for Jeff. Boom, Tetris for Jeff.
To get to level 31, a player needs to clear 20 lines within the kill screen, a feat that used to be impossible. With hypertapping, however, it is possible to place pieces all the way on the left side of the board, but this is only possible with a low stack, which is why Joseph is trying to keep the stack low into 29.
Whoa! Yes! Whoa! My God! Yes! Yes! Yes!
Joseph reaches 311 lines, which is both the first level 31 in recorded history and the lines world record in NES Tetris. This milestone is much more than it appears to be at the surface. It proved that it is feasible for a human to play and score points within level 29, and it was one of the first steps on the path to hypertapper dominance. For the next 2 years, Joseph held the lines world record. He reached level 32 less than a month afterwards, level 33 4 months after 32, level 34 exactly a year after 33, and level 35 4 months after 34, before being outdone by Eric ICX, who reached level 37 and 38 in rapid succession 5 months later. The lines world record has changed hands quite a bit since then, but from this point onward, we will be focusing solely on score world records, and Eric ICX will be referring to himself in the third person. Comment below if you'd like to see him do a world record progression on the lines world record. Around 9 months after his previous world record score, Corian is once again streaming a Tetris practice session. Here, he is attempting to beat his previous record, as can be seen by his goal text in the bottom left. He's been streaming for around an hour and a half at the start of this game. Corian transitions at
How did I get
641,000
flung by
points. At this
bunny?
point, beating his record is doable, but it will be very difficult, as it will require over 600,000 points to be scored within level 19. Corian maxes out at 200 lines. At this point, he needs 8 Tetrises to beat his previous world record. He only has 1 burn left.
Yes! Yes, I fitted my world speed record! Yes!
With a Tetris into level 29, Corian finally did it after 9 months. He updated his score world record on NES Tetris, and it seemed this was where it would stay for a long time. However, only 3 months later, and seemingly out of nowhere, "1975 Tyler P is a mysterious figure in the Tetris community. He is a new player who just sprung up into the scene very recently without much backstory, but he's already a high-level player who has scored 1.2 million. He's already gotten a 1.1 million in this stream alone, and is going for 3 max outs and a level 30 in this stream.
Bunny foot. Bunny foot, bunny foot, bunny foot, bunny foot. Bunny foot.
Tyler transitions at 679,000 points, narrowly missing out on a 700,000 transition.
Let's grab a berry.
Tyler maxes out in level 24, the second earliest recorded max out in history. This game has potential for far more than just a 1.2 at this point. Tyler scores 1.1 midway through level 26, leaving him lots of headroom to not only break the world record, but also get something much greater than the world record. Tyler finishes the game with 1.298 million points, less than 2,000 away from 1.3 million. 1.3 was well within his grasp, but he missed the double with the T-piece going into level 29, killing his chance. Tyler's game sent shockwaves throughout the Tetris community. From it, everyone knew that 1.3 was very possible, and not only was it possible, but it could happen at any time. But a question still lingered in many people's minds. Who was Tyler? Unfortunately, this question may never be firmly answered, but this is the best summarized answer I can give based on the limited information I have. 1975 Tyler P was originally an account that 3 people had access to: Joseph, Cheese, and E-flat7, who I'll refer to as Ella. Each one of these people could quote-unquote disprove that Tyler was any of the others. All 3 of them took turns streaming on the account, but although most of Tyler's VODs have been lost to time, there are some VODs that still exist, such as this one from when Tyler played in the Tetris Deathmatch event against Joseph. Without going into too much technical detail, these vertical lines that are visible on the capture are something that only Cheese and Joseph have on their capture, and it's due to a combination of the capture card itself and dirty power. As Joseph was playing at the time on his own Twitch channel, it's likely that Cheese was the person who streamed this VOD, and the lower frame rate in comparison to other VODs is another characteristic sign of Cheese's streams, even today. This seems to explain most cases where Joseph, Cheese, and Ella quote-unquote proved that they owned the 1975 Tyler P Twitch account. I did see one of these unfold live when Ella streamed on the 1975 Tyler P Twitch account and did various things that people in Discord asked her to do on stream. Unfortunately, both this VOD and the Discord messages have been lost to time, so as painful as it may be for me to say this, you'll just have to trust me on this one. In late 2020, Joseph did post a message where he said he was the one who streamed Tyler's 1.298 game. While this isn't conclusive in any means, and Joseph didn't provide any additional proof, I do personally believe that the heavy circumstantial evidence I mentioned before, both about the vertical lines on the capture and the fact that what I believe to be Cheese's stream was at a much lower frame rate, supports the case that the 1.298 was in fact played by Joseph, and this is what most of the community also believes. And while we may never truly know with 100% certainty who played Tyler's game, it sparked an unofficial race for 1.3 million. Both Harry and Corian had near misses, with Harry coming one Tetris short of a 1.3 million due to some lines that he burned at the beginning of level 26, and Corian being barely on pace at the beginning of level 28 before a bad sequence of pieces destroyed his board, causing him to top out before level 29. But rather fittingly in the end,
okay, 15 more for that. We need more wood. Forgot to get bed. We need shoot, I need to go to the toilet. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. I'm back. Yo, another sapling. Plant it. Let's go. Day 10. Just like my wood. 10. I need a lot more wood. I shouldn't have just gone for wood. I could have gone chairs. Oh, look at how much wood there is here. Ow. Bad puppy. I mean wolf. Why did I say puppy? It's a wolf. We got stacks of wood. And let's just spend it all. An old bed. Now we need more scrap.
Yes!
I think so. For more scrap.
Oh my god! Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
No. Hey, what happened?
Oh my god! Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, I'm shaking so hard right now. Oh my goodness!
Joseph Saley scores the first ever 1.3 million and even gets a Tetris in level 29, setting a new world record and getting over 1.35 million points, making people immediately wonder about the possibility of 1.4 million. This is a special day for two reasons. One, Joseph broke the score world record, and two, Joseph broke it again in under an hour. Joseph's first game was on a 19 start, with 632,000 points at 130 lines, a max out in level 25, a 1.1 into level 27, a 1.2 into level 28, and a 1.3 into kill screen along with an extra 67,000 points scored, topping out at 1.375 million points. And Joseph's second game had the potential to be a lot more than it was. Joseph had 716,000 points at 130 lines.
Oh. Got my loot and put it
Joseph
in
maxes
here.
out midway through level 24.
It's just enough. Yes. Coal. Yes. Ow. Hit my hand.
It's not good. Oh my god! World record though. Dude.
With a sequence of unfavorable pieces, however, Joseph is denied the opportunity for a 1.4 million score. On June 14th of 2020, a screenshot was posted in the CTM Discord of a game by Joseph, which shows 1,439,173 points. Allegedly, the reason this game wasn't recorded was because Joseph stopped recording after getting 1.384 million, the level 18 start world record at the time, and forgot to start recording again. However, the game was streamed live to a Discord call. A player by the name of Miles was in the call and recorded audio from his headset microphone. You can just barely hear the other people in the call at some points of the audio, such as when Joseph completes a dig to get 1.4.
You're so cracked. How did you do that? Oh my god.
You can also hear Joseph's reaction when he sees that he wasn't recording.
Are you kidding?
So did Joseph actually get 1.4? While we have no way of knowing for sure, the majority of the community trusts him on it. Around half a month after Joseph's score, a player by the name of Scotto Bozo played out a perfect game of NES Tetris using RNG manipulation, getting 1.5 million into level 29. Without going into too much detail, the process for this is finding a starting point that is possible for a human to hit consistently and memorizing the optimal placements to make. This works because the randomizer of NES Tetris only resets when the console is power cycled, which means that the same inputs on the menu will always give the same position within the seed. The community's almost universal response to this run was to make it a separate category from ones where the player doesn't know what pieces they will get, also known as random seed runs. But a recorded 1.4 million without RNG manipulation would prove to be extremely elusive, and in the end, it would require people to completely rethink how NES Tetris is played. This game was played 4 months after Joseph's unrecorded 1.4 by Dog playing Tetris, a player rapidly rising to the top of the ranks in NES Tetris.
Ruby chest!
Dog transitioned at 717,000.
Thorn body, oh my goodness. Jump up the forest fragment, grab some wood, and some scrap. Let's go. Go, man, I found a ruby chest. What's that, silver chest? I could get it.
Dog maxed out at the beginning of level 24.
Fuel. Let's grab some of this stuff. One more thing. Wait, I already cleared that out.
Dog entered level 28 with a score of 1.295 million. He needs at least a Tetris on the kill screen to get a 1.4 at this point.
Don't worry, campfire. I got this.
Unfortunately, Dog wasn't able to close it out, coming 14,000 points shy of a 1.4 million. But something even greater was on the horizon. So, do you remember how I said that a recorded 1.4 million would require people to rethink how NES Tetris is played? Well, around this time in late 2020, several players were experimenting with techniques to get even faster movement speeds on an NES controller. One of them, a player named Cheese, was inspired by a video by Hector Fly, where he showcased a technique to get extremely fast button mashing in track and field, which involved rolling his fingers over an arcade button. But trying to move this technique over to an NES controller presents a big problem. The D-pad on an NES controller is much smaller than an arcade button. Everyone else's grip tried to work around this limitation by using the D-pad as the tapping surface in some way, but Cheese had an idea. What if, instead of rolling his fingers on the surface of the D-pad itself, he tried to roll them on the back of the controller, pushing the D-pad into a finger he had on top? And that simple idea became rolling. The reason rolling was, and still is, so revolutionary is because it removed nearly all of the limitations on mobility that the DAS and hypertapping playstyles had. Going back to the comparison I made earlier in the video, hypertapping takes 200 to 400 milliseconds to move a piece from the center of the board to the side of the screen, but with rolling, it takes the player only 100 to 250 milliseconds to move a piece from the center of the board to the side of the screen. But with great power comes great potential for error. It doesn't matter if you can move the pieces faster than ever intended if you can't move them where you want them to go. It took top players months before they were even remotely consistent at this revolutionary playstyle, as only one poorly timed error can be a fatal mistake. But Cheese had a little bit of a head start over everyone else. On June 30th, 2021, Cheese started his qualifier for the July 2021 Classic Tetris Monthly Tournament. During this hour-long qualifier, the goal is to get 2 good scores, which will then be averaged out into your final qualifying score. As this is Cheese's first game of the hour, he's looking to get a high score to start his qualifier on a good note. Cheese transitions at 593,000. Compared to previous world record games, this is rather low. If he wants any chance at getting the world record, he'll have to ramp up the aggression in level 19.
I'm going back to base. My fire.
Cheese maxes out into level 26 at approximately 200 lines.
Six and 1 Saturday.
Cheese scores 1.1 at the end of level 27. The maximum score he can achieve before 29 is around 1.2 million, but that Zenus drop is going to cost him a few Tetris opportunities, reducing his runway even further. Cheese goes into level 29 with 1.158 million points, but even with a score this low, Cheese has the potential to score like no one else can on level 29.
We got stacks of wood. Oh, nah. Oh. Man. I think I should buy a crock pot. And then buy a wood rain storage. Oh no.
Unfortunately, with a series of unfortunate misdrops,
I messed up.
Cheese tops out in level 37 with a score of 1,461,740 points. It took over a year and also the invention of an entirely new playstyle, but Cheese had finally done it. He had gotten a 1.4 million score on video. This game was arguably the first game that showed the true potential of rolling to everyone in the community. His ability to score 3 Tetrises on level 29 back to back to back in order to get 1.4 was something that even the best hyper-tappers could only dream of, and the left-wheel Tetris that Cheese achieved on level 32 to get out of a seemingly impossible situation required possibly even more skill than that. A little bit of context here, Cheese had 233 milliseconds in order to get the line piece to the left here, and if he rolled his fingers perfectly, he would have had to do 20 inputs per second minimum. In reality, it was probably more like 23 inputs per second, as shown by the classic Tetris bot here. Since the best hyper-tappers at the time peaked at 18 inputs per second, the movement speed that Cheese commanded with the rolling playstyle was truly unprecedented. And with this score, and other demonstrations from Cheese on level 29 starts, other players were sure to take notice of this new playstyle's true potential. Hydrant Dude is a player who has been around in the community for quite some time. Despite not being the fastest tapper or the best stacker, he has made himself quite known for other contributions to the community such as ROM hacks. Before Cheese's demonstrations of the potential of the rolling playstyle, he was a fairly accomplished tapper, having a personal best of 1.23 million points with tapping, achieved in January of 2021. For the past few months, Hydrant has also been practicing the rolling playstyle, and in this session, he's trying to beat his old level 19 personal best. Hydrant reaches 130 lines at 507,000 points. Hydrant maxes out midway through level 27. Hydrant goes into level 29 with 1.124 million points. Although this is lower than just about any other recent world record, Cheese's game showed how much it was possible to score within the kill screen, and Hydrant entered with a very low stack. Hydrant reaches 1.2 million with a single in level 34.
I want to look at chat, but I can't.
Hydrant reaches 1.3 million with a Tetris in level 38 and immediately comes very close to topping out. Hydrant achieves 1.4 million with a Tetris in level 41. At this point, the world record is only 50,000 points away. All he has to do is survive. Hydrant beats Cheese's score immediately after making a very bad misdrop on level 44, and makes a game-ending misdrop immediately afterwards. Hydrant's final score is 1,464,960 points, beating the previous record by 3,220 points. This game, along with Cheese's previous record, nicely demonstrates the two basic approaches that different players have taken when it comes to utilizing the extra mobility that the rolling playstyle provides. On one hand, you have players like Cheese who prefer to play more aggressive and score points very quickly, but with the caveat that just about any mistake is game-ending, as any misdrop at these heights is likely fatal. Cheese showed in his game the sheer scoring potential of Tetris in level 29, but in order to get them, he had to ascend to stack heights that required him to play nearly perfectly or face certain death. And on the other hand, you have players like Hydrant, who prefer to play safer and score points slowly, but this allows them to have more tolerance to misdrops or mistakes they would make. Hydrant showed in his game that even though he played low in the field normally, when a combination of mistakes and bad RNG forced him to play slightly higher, he was able to dig out of the mess and get back down to the bottom of the screen. Hydrant's game came 3 lines short of the Lines world record at the time, which was set just 1 day back by another roller named Jounce at 286 lines. And fittingly, just 3 days later, Jounce is a new roller who, before this game, was rapidly rising up through the ranks. Around 4 months before this match, he had posted his first ever video where he used rolling, which was clearing 19.4, and from there, he went on to get multiple other world records, such as the level 29 start lines and score world records, and the overall lines world record. This game was played during one of Jounce's first Classic Tetris monthly matches against Odin Logi 06. Jounce transitions at 695,000 points, nearly a 700k transition, and nearly 300,000 points ahead of his opponent Odin. Odin tops out at 502,000 points, nowhere near Jounce's current score of over 900,000 on level 23. Since this had the potential to be an incredible score into level 29, Jounce decided to keep playing. Jounce maxes out into level 24, an incredible pace for any game, much less one played live against someone else. Jounce scores 1.1 million at the end of level 25. Jounce scores 1.2 midway through level 27. He has the potential to get 4 more Tetrises before level 29. Jounce goes into level 29 with 1.352 million points. To beat Hydrant's world record, he will need 112,000 points in level 29. Jounce scores 1.4 million with a double into level 32, just another 60,000 points left. Going into level 35, Jounce is set up for a Tetris, gets the bar, and breaks the world record in style with 1.486 million points. 1.5 million isn't far away, but first he'll have to deal with these holes. With a double in level 36, Jounce achieves the first ever 1.5 million score, and he's not done yet. Going into level 39, Jounce is set up for another Tetris, gets the bar immediately, and now he's nearly at 1.6 million points! And with a single on level 39, Jounce gets the first ever 1.6 million score. His board is messy, but he's not finished yet. With those two misdrops to the left on level 41, Jounce finally tops out at 1.627 million points. The leading digit of the score shows 0 here because the game Unicode that uncaps the score makes the leading digit count in hexadecimal, which only counts up to F, or 15. So anything beyond that rolls back to 0. For this reason, a score of 1,600,000 points, better known as 1.6 million points, is known as a rollover. It's hard to overstate just how significant this score was in the community. Two things immediately jump out from the start. Firstly, it beat the previous world record by over 100,000 points, which at the time was the biggest score world record jump in the history of NES Tetris. And secondly, breaking the 1.6 million barrier was thought to be impossible just a little while ago. And to be fair, with DAS and hypertapping, it nearly was. These two factors, along with the fact that the score was done live in a match, instantly made it one of the most memorable score world records ever. But one question still lingered. Who was Jounce? Well, we wouldn't have to wait long to find out. It was Hydrant Dude. He just admitted it. Well, not exactly, I guess. At the 2021 Blanked Garage Qualifier, which I will be doing a vlog about sometime, a Game Scout took some video footage of Hydrant Dude rolling, and when comparing the hand cams of Hydrant and Jounce, they looked remarkably similar, which led to Hydrant admitting that he was Jounce all along. Nevertheless, the score was still legitimate, and it's a record that's got a heck of a story. Huffaluffagus, similar to Hydrant Dude, is a former hypertapper that transitioned to rolling. He got 3rd place in the 2020 Classic Tetris World Championships, losing to Dog playing Tetris, who would eventually end up winning the entire tournament. Before switching to rolling, he had a PB of 1.32 million points with tapping, which is pretty good. During this session, he was attempting to beat his level 19 PB at the time of 1.339 million points.
Oh, my cheese. Oh, look at this.
Huff reaches 130 lines at 667,000 points. Huff maxes out in level 26 at approximately 205 lines. Huff goes into level 29 and immediately gets a Tetris for 1.2 million points. Huff scores 1.3 million at level 33. Huff scores 1.4 million at level 39. Huff scores 1.5 million with a double on level 44. Huff becomes the second person to break the 1.6 million barrier and rolls over the score with a single into level 49. The world record is less than 100,000 points away now. With a double into level 50, Huff breaks Hydrant's old record.
I need more scrap. Quick. I need my scrap. Where are the scraps? Where are
After
all
a valiant
the
effort that was
scraps?
unfortunately ended by a missed roll, Huff topped out at level 52 with a score of 1,676,400 points. This game was also the Line's world record at the time, and it's not hard to see why. Going back to our two distinct playstyles from earlier, aggressive and safe, Huff is an incredibly safe player. On level 29, after 2 Tetrises, he took nearly no risks, and when a bad situation forced his stack to get higher, he managed to survive for quite a while until he unfortunately made a game-ending misdrop. But Huff's record wouldn't stand for long. On November 29th, Cheese once again was playing out an hour-long Classic Tetris Monthly qualifier. His two best games at the time were a 1.1 million and a 1.0 million, which would have gotten into the Masters event bracket, which the top 16 qualifying players participate in, but it would have been a relatively low seed in the bracket, so Cheese was still looking for a higher score to complement his 1.1 million. Cheese transitions to level 19 at 639,000 points.
Go!
Cheese maxes out into level 28.
Almost lost there. He is.
Cheese goes into level 29 with 1.078 million points. On level 40, Cheese misses a T-spin, which causes him to make a series of deadly misdrops. But not long after breaking the 1.3 million barrier on level 43, he's stuck in another tough situation and nearly dies after missing a square to the right. But he still manages to survive, and he has a Tetris wall set up.
Would have been good if I got the tactical shotgun instead. Or kunai.
With a Tetris on level 47,
I'll just go
he
down.
scores 1.5 million.
Come on, guys, notice me. Wait, just 3?
Cheese rolls the score over with a Tetris on level 48. With a Tetris on level 50, Cheese breaks Huff's world record and achieves the first ever 1.7 million score. Almost immediately after another Tetris, Cheese achieves the first ever 1.8 million. With a Tetris on level 56, Cheese achieves the first ever 2 million score. Unfortunately, with a series of misdrops on the left, Cheese tops out, but not before achieving an unprecedented score of 2,340,240 points. Once again, it's hard to overstate just how crazy of a game this was. When it was achieved, people could barely believe their eyes. Just around 2 weeks ago, Huff had gotten 1.6 million points, and people expected the world record to increase in increments of 100,000, maybe 200,000 points. No one expected Cheese to break Huff's world record by nearly 700,000 points. Cheese's insanely aggressive stacking and the Tetrises he scored in the very late levels of the game where Tetrises are worth much more helped him break Huff's old record by such a huge margin. And Cheese's record would stand for nearly 5 months until one fateful day in April. April 1st, 2022 is a special day for multiple reasons beyond just being April Fool's Day. Early in the morning hours of the day, Cheese was playing out his qualifier for the April 2022 Classic Tetris Monthly Tournament, having started in the late hours of March 31st. He was 33 minutes into the qualifier at the time, and he had 2 scores on the board, a 1.27 million and a 1.1 million. This was enough to get him in, but there was no reason to not try for a higher score in order to get a higher seed, so that's what Cheese did. Cheese transitions at 640,000 points.
I have a lot of scrap. Wait. According to my calculations, I have 20 scrap. I put this in. So which means I will have about 20 scrap.
Cheese goes into level 29 and immediately gets a Tetris to go up to 1.05 million points.
Is it even worth it to buy this? Oh yeah, it is. Oh my goodness, I forgot my fire.
Cheese rolls the score over with a double on level 45.
Why does the buffer look like poop?
Cheese reaches 2 million with a Tetris.
Another farm plot being placed.
Cheese gets 2.3 million at level 62. His world record is less than 100,000 away at this point. Cheese breaks his previous world record with a single on level 63, but immediately after he goes for an aggressive Tetris and makes a game-ending misdrop. Cheese tops out at 2,340,637 points, beating his previous world record by only 397 points. For some context, that's less points than a single on level 9. The huge improbability of this small of a record improvement is impressive in and of itself. But on that very same day, the record would be broken again, with arguably an even more improbable game. Eric ICX is the player who, if you know the YouTube channel you're currently watching, likely doesn't need an introduction, but I'll do my best here. Eric was a player who started playing midway through 2018 and after getting a console in 2019, quickly rose to the top of the ranks in NES Tetris, being one of the fastest tappers the game had ever seen. His incredibly fast tapping allowed him to take the level world record and the 29 lines world record from Joseph Saley in 2020, achieving level 38 and 112 lines and 29 respectively. When rolling hit the scene in early 2021, Eric was quick to adapt, training for months and breaking his level 29 lines PB on September 8th of 2021 and achieving level 45 on November 4th of 2021, which was the world record at the time. His PB before this game was 1.497 million points, a score that he had achieved just a day before in his Classic Tetris Monthly qualifier. Before this game, he had just gotten a 1.3 million game and was going for back-to-back 1.3 scores.
On day 44, Dear Hungry. But these 12 is going in here.
Eric maxes out into level 25.
Get in the fire! What are you guys doing? In the fire.
Eric scores 1.2 million points at level 28. Eric goes into level 29 and immediately gets a 1.3 million score with the Tetris in level 29.
11. 2, 3, 4, 5. Battlefields don't want to get in the fire. Wow. A new 6 go in here. Actually 4 go in there.
Getting his first ever 1.5 million.
Where's the smallest pumpkin? Here's a small pumpkin, put in there.
Eric scores his first 1.6 million in level 43 with a single.
We need one more pumpkin. Nice, level 4. I have so much to do.
Eric breaks the 2 million barrier, becoming the second person to do so after Cheese. Eric gets 2.3 million points into level 65, and at this point, the world record is only 30,000 points away. Eric sets a new world record with a double into level 66. He's been playing for 37 levels of kill screen, and he's not showing signs of letting up anytime soon. After an agonizing dig, Eric breaks the 2.6 million barrier and gets the first ever quote-unquote double max out. In the middle of another agonizing dig, Eric becomes the first person to score 3 million points in NES Tetris.
The deer is hungry. The fire is good. Not.
With a double into level 87, Eric becomes the first ever player to roll over the score counter in NES Tetris twice, which is a truly monumental achievement.
Okay, there, now my fire is good.
After a couple of mistakes and an unsuccessful dig, Eric finally topped out with a final score of 3,772,300.
Oh, I want to get 21, but I got
this score sent shockwaves throughout
27.
the Tetris community. When he posted it to Discord, it was incredibly hard to believe at first. The fact that he had only posted a screenshot, combined with the unfortunate coincidence of it being April 1st, led people to dismiss it as an April Fool's joke. That was, until he finally uploaded a video to Discord, allowing people to see the game with their own eyes. With this being a score jump over the world record that nearly equated to Eric's PB before this game, obviously people had questions. For starters, when Eric went into level 64, his camera shut off. There is actually a fairly simple explanation for this though. The Nikon DSLR Eric was using has a time limit of 30 minutes when outputting video via HDMI, and since he hadn't bothered to reset the timer after his previous 1.3 million game, the timer expired and the camera's feed shut off. If you look up here, you can see some parts of the 30-second warning. And there was also the question of both how and why Eric had been able to pull off such a huge world record increase, and the answer basically comes down to a concept called scaling, which I'll try to explain. The scoring system of NES Tetris basically works like this. When you score a line clear, the game gives you points decided by these 4 formulas for the 4 types of line clears. For simplicity's sake, let's focus on the Tetris formula. Using this formula, we can find that when a Tetris is scored on level 9, it's worth 12,000 points, and when a Tetris is scored on level 19, it's worth 24,000 points. So essentially, if we double the level plus 1 value here in this formula, we get double the score given for a Tetris. Going back to our aggressive and safe playstyles from earlier, this is another advantage that playing safe has. By surviving longer, you'll reach levels where line clears are worth much more than they are in the earlier levels of the game. At level 29, Tetrises are worth 36,000 points, but the Tetris that Eric scored at level 93 is worth 112,800 points. So at level 29, you need a bit more than 3 Tetrises to match the scoring potential of just 1 Tetris in the late game. And once you look at how much longer people have survived as the world record has gone up, it starts to make sense why the jumps are so much bigger. Huff survived to level 52 in his 1.676 million game, Cheese survived to level 61 as a much more aggressive player than Huff in his 2.34 million game, and Eric survived all the way to level 95, having broken Cheese's world record at level 66. So basically, by surviving longer, Eric reached levels of the game that give many more points for the same line clears as earlier levels. And the next world record would put the concept of scaling to the ultimate test. Four and a half months later, Eric and Huff are playing in a CTM match. After Eric transitions at 546,000 points and goes into level 29 with an incredibly scary board that he somehow immediately gets out of, both players are off. In the middle of a precarious dig, Eric rolls the score over for the first time this game, and yet Huff is still over 100,000 points ahead. Eric has a long ways to go, both to the world record and to beat Huff's score if he tops out. Huff tops out. Eric beats Huff's score. Having beaten Huff's score around 125 lines ago, Eric gets a double max out with a Tetris on level 83. Eric scores 3 million points. With a single on level 94, Eric gets the second ever double rollover. With a single at level 105, Eric sets a new world record, and he's not showing any signs of stopping. Eric scores 4 million points. Eric gets his third rollover of the game on level 123. The colors of NES Tetris will glitch out when he reaches 1,320 lines, and that's less than 150 lines away. Eric scores 5 million points.
Okay, and let's go. Boom! Bang. Put them both in the fire. Collect my coins.
With a single, Eric reaches the glitch colors at level 138.
What's this gem?
6 million
Here.
points.
And put them on the fire.
Finally, after achieving 4 score rollovers, level 146, and playing so far he glitched out the colors, Eric tops out at 6,492,500 points due to not being able to see his board. If you'd like to know why exactly the colors glitched out like they did in this game, there's a video in the description which explains why this happens very well. But basically, the way the game checks what color to use for the pieces breaks down because the game developers never expected anyone to get that far. Before this game, the closest that anyone had ever gotten to glitch colors was 976 lines, and although it very much was unexpected to go straight from 976 lines to 1,408 lines, it wasn't implausible considering the increasing jumps of Eric and Cheese's previous world records. That being said, the fact that this score happened during a live match, with hundreds being able to watch and react to the game live on Twitch, and the fact that it was an increase of 2.7 million points over Eric's previous world record score immediately made this one of the most memorable world records in NES Tetris history. So,
I'm just
what
gonna
does
chop down
future
the
of
rest
NES
of
Tetris
these.
World Records hold? Well, when it comes to high scores, the only limiting factor is how much stamina a player has to keep going. In the previous version of this world record progression, I made the prediction that world records would have a significant amount of their points achieved on the kill screen. With hyper tapping, players could only achieve a couple thousand points on average. But with the advent of rolling, there are practically no limits to how many points a player can score, and this has effectively transformed NES Tetris into a marathon game. That being said, high score isn't the only world record worth looking at in NES Tetris. More efficiency-based world records, like the earliest max out, earliest rollover, and highest score in a competition game, are highly contested records today, even with the rolling playstyle in full swing. As I see it, there are two big milestones left for players to achieve when it comes to endurance: Game Crash and getting to level 255. Game Crash occurs with an unmodified version of the game if you clear a single at 1,489 lines, which humans are currently very close to achieving. But level 255 is what I predict will remain unachieved for years to come, since it requires around 3,550 lines to get there. We'll have to wait and see if these milestones are ever achieved, but for now, this is the world record in NES Tetris. Thanks for watching.
Okay. I'll just stay here. Stay here until... Let's just stay here until
On
it
December
stops.
21st of
The rain.
2023, Scooty became the first person to play out a game of NES Tetris so far that the game crashed.
I'm staying.
He played all the way up until level
Day
157,
54.
until he hit a barrier in the game's ancient code that prevented him from progressing any further. But is it possible to go further from here? And if so, can we get all the way to level 255, the last level in the game? And if we can, what comes after that? All of those questions and more will be answered in this video, but first, we need to start back at the beginning of the game's history in order to figure out how to beat the crash. Tetris was released in 1989 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's a simple game with a simple goal: place pieces which fall from the top of the screen into complete rows in order to clear out lines of the board. For every 10 lines you clear, the level increases and the pieces fall slightly faster. The game's fastest speed is reached at level 29, where the pieces fall a row every single frame, and at this level, the game can't move pieces to the sides fast enough if you hold down the directional buttons. They'll always land slightly short.
Okay, I'll just end the stream. No one's even
For this
watching.
reason, level 29 was considered the kill screen because this level would always kill your run. However, level 29 isn't really a kill screen in the traditional sense.